Give in. Never, never, never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network. OutlawRadioNetwork.com.
This country can't be knocked out with one punch. We get right back up again, and when we do, the world's going to hear the roar of our engines.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
You do your work, and we will do our bit.
Republic. I like the sentiment of it. It means people can live free, talk free, go or come, buy or sell, be drunk or sober, however they choose.
Are you ready to be who you are?
No poetry, just a straight answer.
The government has deliberately sought to deceive the United States by false statements and expressions of hope for continued peace.
We are men of the hood. Mary, now at your expense. But there's no both sides anymore. They're just trying to wreck our goddamn country. It's time for you younger guys to take over it.
You meant to be here tonight. This is your time. Their time is done. It's over. Screw them. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
If you guys don't start thinking as men, we're gonna have a lousy country.
For the crimes of incitement to cause unrest, I declare to be an outlaw.
All right, everybody, it is the Outlaw Radio Network for the 13th of October, 2024. Thanks for checking out the show. Only 18 days away from that favorite holiday where Tom actually can go out dressed like normal in public as a pirate. So thanks for checking out the show. K-Dog St. Paul. Tom is off screen as we have a guest in studio, but Tom is here. Lori, there's Tom's bald head if you're looking on the video screen. Lori is here as well, the CEO, and Bob Ross running the boards. Just to give you a layout of the show, we'll be talking with Dr. Jamie Miles here in a moment. Later in the show, Chris Gergen will join us from Las Vegas, political strategist and campaign consultant for a whole bunch of local campaigns. Chris will join us. And then in the third hour, we'll get some national stuff in and do our football picks and all the good normal stuff. Paul, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
It's good to see you.
Yeah?
What are you wearing on your head? What is that?
Well, most people call it a hat.
Is it like a beanie?
Yeah, it's like a beanie.
Like a beanie, but
like
not a beanie?
But a beanie.
It looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, Thomas. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Hello, Bob Ross.
How's it going?
We're going to try to make it through one show without any technical issues tonight. So if that happens, we will all take credit. If it fails, it'll be all Bob Ross's fault.
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. All right.
Always have technical problems.
If we
already can't hear Tom.
We already can't hear Tom. That's
because this is a radio show, Tom.
I've been told not hearing Tom is not a technical problem, it's a technical solution.
No, it's a feature.
It's a feature. All right. Let's get to our guest, though. Joining us live in studio for the first time. First opportunity to talk to her. Dr. Jamie Miles joins us. Dr. Miles, thanks for coming into Outlaw.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So you are running in the 23rd. God,
you can do this, Kev. You can do
23rd district. You're running up against Greg Nance in the November election. You're on the home stretch of campaigning. And I guess before we get into anything, the appropriate thing to do is just tell the listeners who you are and why you're running.
Well, my name is Dr. Jamie Miles, and I'm running because I was asked to step up and run by my PCO. I had never done anything political before. I ran for third grade class president. That was the last thing I did, and that was a debacle. I was running on a platform of I thought there should be more math.
More math.
Yes, school should
You
be
weren't popular,
mathier.
were you?
I wanted more trips to the planetarium.
Okay.
All right. I was a complete science nerd, still am. And I, because at the time we were only allowed one weekly trip to the school library and could only take out one book.
Wow.
I wanted more trips to the library and the ability to check out more than one book per week. And my opponent ran on a platform of basically tater tots and a vending machine. And I think we know how that turned out.
Yeah, they won, didn't they?
Third grader.
Taught me a really important lesson. We didn't actually get a vending machine. We did get more tater tots.
More tater tots.
And I started, I burst into tears because I really wanted more trips to the library. So the librarian actually took me aside. And every day after school, I was allowed in to check out a book and return the one that I had taken out because I was such an avid reader. I always have felt that, words were like heroin and I needed my fix every day. So every day I would check out a new book and I would spend my time reading.
Are you still an avid reader, learner now?
Absolutely. Yeah. My days start at 3 and I read, hours worth of international newspapers and journals. And, I love the physical books. I love the cover jacket art. I love the smell of old books.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I love is haunting old books, not old bookstores, but bookstores that sort of specialize in hard to find and books that are out of print. I do that online as well through Al Libris and Thrift Books. And I think that everybody should be accumulating their own Library of Alexandria.
Okay.
I hate people who say, well, I can always look it up online. No, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
If the grid goes down, you are screwed.
Yeah.
All right. I remember spending, it seems like years of my life going through the Encyclopedia Britannica, and I would play the game, close my eyes and picking a page and like going down the rabbit hole of what I would read about.
Wow. Okay.
Can you imagine?
I'm sorry. I'm bringing you to tears.
No, I love it actually.
But the best part,
because I'm the same. So I'm working on my master's program, which I only bring up once a show.
Let me just finish up with how books sort of intersect with respect to both the tactical as well as a sense of memory. My mother was a Shakespeare and English teacher originally and started off as that and then went on to special education because she thought that everybody should be able to understand Shakespeare in some shape or form. Okay.
I love Shakespeare.
So she would read to me, and it's so important for parents to read to their kids and sort of inculcate with them the sense of love of the written word.
Mm-hmm.
She thought that poetry was like air that you needed to breathe every day, and that's how children really related to language. And so she would read poetry to me. When she passed, I found books that she had read to me when I was a child, and she, in her terrible handwriting, she would write out in the margin, Jamie loves this, or must read this to Jamie. And I still have those. And I love the fact that there's something I can touch that she touched, something that she read to me that I.
Yeah. I know a lot of people love the ebook thing, but as you said, there is something about having a tangible book in your hand.
The
about
smells,
about
the
reading
taste,
it,
the cover
it.
jacket,
Yeah.
even the fact that, even when you buy a used book, you'll see things in the margin that somebody wrote.
Mhm.
It's sort of like being on a hiking trail. I used to do the Appalachian Trail with my dad. And there would always be plinths, or there would always be some sort of sign that somebody else was there before you, especially if the weather was crappy. There was always a little bit of courage that you got from the fact that, there was an old, fire site that somebody left, or there was a plinth of somebody that was here. Sort of gave you a little bit of oomph.
Yeah.
Somebody else did this trail and you can do it too.
So we're going to segue this a little bit to your campaign now. Although I think I could talk with you about this another half an hour, but we're going to get to your platform. But you're stepping from what I call a very kind of intellectual space in books and in reading and the written word into what I consider more of a combat sport, which is politics. Talk about the desire to move into this kind of foray of ideas and interchanging ideas, and some people that are going to be a little more militant and a little more dug in, and what makes you want to change this scope? And I know that you said that the PCOs had asked you to run, but what about you wants to step into this? Because I would never want to run for public office. It seems caustic and angry and bitter and hateful stuff all over the place. What makes you step into that?
Well, I would look at it like this. One of the tasks of Hercules was to clean the Augean stables.
Mm-hmm.
all right, which he ended up having to lift a rock and divert a whole river to do that. Who wants to clean their bathroom? You don't want to.
Right.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't want to do this. I love my life.
Mm-hmm.
I get up at 3 a.m. and, I get to see the sun come up. I have my coffee. I'm at this point in my life, I'm working, I'm milking goats. I'm gathering fruit off my trees. I'm taking organic eggs. I'm, taking care of baby pigs and goats. And, I love my dogs. I love my life. I love watching the colors change. I don't feel the need to have to clean the bathroom, but somebody has to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. And you're speaking Paul's language. He's a bit of a
not a bit of a farmer. I just watched his eyes light up because he's like, oh my God, another person that has a farm.
Listen, I
give her credit, Kevin.
I sort of will remember a line of Gandalf's from Lord of the Rings.
That's a book, Kevin.
And a movie that I haven't seen, but go ahead.
And he talks about, the things that give him courage. And it's really the ordinary deeds of everyday people.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with, little acts of kindness. And, this is bravery. When you see a single mom, when I took care of patients every day for decades, right? When you see a single mom who is counting her blessings with taking care of a chronically ill child, when you see a dad who is working 2 jobs just to keep his family afloat, all right, that's bravery. I don't have to storm the beaches of Normandy. I don't have to, stand on the wall at the Alamo. All I have to do is stand up and tell the truth and try to solve a problem. These are not supernatural problems. These are man-made problems. All right. And I can have the epistemic humility to say, okay, if you woke up in the morning and your pants are wet, don't look to see who pissed in them.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So we have a problem. You got to fix it.
Got to fix it.
All right.
And so this to you is more about duty. This is not about this is not like about a consolidation of power. Or that my ego says that this is what I was made for. This is for you a calling to do something that needs to be done in spite of your life and in spite of what you're doing.
When you look up and you see an eagle flying, it is beautiful because it is this amalgam of what it was designed to do. It's flying and in flight, it is soaring, and it's going to come down and it's going to capture something. I remember when we were in Alaska, we saw an eagle literally swoop down and catch a salmon out of a seal's mouth.
Wow.
And I looked at it, and yes, it was something that looked like it came out of the Discovery Channel, but it was doing what it was designed to do. All right. When you watch those films of Secretariat, they're beautiful because this is what that horse was designed to do. All right. You watch, the gazelle taken down by the lion. It's hard to watch, but that lion is doing what it was designed. I was put here to solve problems. I was put here first as an engineer. I was put here first as a physician. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what was wrong with my father, and I was able to help him for 10 years. I couldn't stop the process, but I was able to hold his hand while it was happening. I found my son's heart murmur. All right. And I know what it's like to deal with children that are chronically ill because I had to hold my daughter down when she had her blood drawn every week for her chemo. All right. I know what that feels like, both as a patient, both as a mother, and both as a physician. All right. You got to solve problems. You have to have the bravery and the honesty to look at them and say, okay, we can do this. We can do hard things. We're an adult.
Before we get into specific,
so just to sort of circle back, it's not about power. It says right there on my website, I'm not going to take a cent of salary. It's not about me. I don't need the salary. You know who needs my salary? Kids who can't afford to go to trade school. All right. They're not having anybody write off their student loans. You know, and certainly we need more people who do HVAC and more people who can do plumbing and frame a house than we need politicians. All right. So
Amen.
it's not about me. It's about doing what you need to do, like Cincinnatus, and then going back to your farm.
When we talked with Lance Bird last week, and when we talked, and I think I said this when we interviewed Tara Simmons a couple of weeks ago, I've always felt like the North End is a very blue kind of Democrat stronghold. And every time I've said that, I've gotten pushback online that people have said, no, Kevin, you're not getting it. The North End is not as Democrat as you think it is. Tell me why you believe as a Republican that it isn't as blue up there, that a Republican can get elected and can make a difference up north.
Well, I believe that a Republican can make the difference. I'm not sure that they can be elected.
Okay.
All right. For example, I don't believe that there are Democratic children or Republican children. There are just children that should be healthy. All right. There are not Republican or Democratic mothers. All right. There are mothers who have dropping fertility rates and increasing infant mortality. All right. So yes, we can fix these problems. You know what is a problem? The problem is it is easier to lie to people than convince them that they've been lied to. They will forgive you if you say you're sorry because you were wrong. They won't forgive you if you're right. I have literally taken care of patients where I can watch the little bubbles. This is part of me on the spectrum. I literally sort of see little bubbles like some kind of a comic strip going over people's heads of what I think that they're thinking. And I looked at those little bubbles and they're saying, how long can I continue to ignore what she's saying before something bad will happen to me? How long can I continue fill in the blank? Smoking, drinking, not exercising, eating crap, fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, truth is a time release pill. All right. These lessons that life will teach you were things that your parents said that you didn't want to hear. So I'm sorry. I feel like I'm ignoring you.
Well, Kevin was asking questions and it was all good. I do have some questions to ask. And I want to take a second. You were running as a Republican and you are from Bainbridge Island. And I know from having worked on Bainbridge for a long time, you are more than just an endangered species up there. I'm sure that you realize that.
Oh, I think we're hunted.
Yeah, I really think you are.
I actually have shotgun shells and all sorts of affectionate emails and voicemails from people who really are supporting me. In fact, I was just relating that the campaign signs that we had put out were stolen.
How long did it take before they were ripped off?
2 days, 3 days.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, 48 hours longer than my Culp sign did on the highway. But I really, my heart goes out to you. But I'm curious. When I look at your history and your background and where you come from, you literally have experience, or your family does, with actual Nazis, right? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the nature of politics in the country today, considering people seem to toss that word around like it's, I don't know, cotton candy? Like we hear all the time, we hear a pundit on TV. So Donald Trump is a Nazi. Like it's a phrase we hear frequently, right? Do you ignore it? Does it go in one ear and out the other? Or does it have any type of cerebral effect on you?
It doesn't. Have you ever been to Auschwitz?
No, my son is actually about 15 miles from there.
I have been to Auschwitz.
I believe it.
All right. Have you ever sat down with people who had lived through the camps?
One time at the library there, some folks came to come speak about it that had been at Sobibor.
Okay. So if you have, all right, you would know that these people who are tossing that word around,
mm-hmm.
all I hear is like explosive diarrhea.
Mm-hmm. It's descriptive.
Yeah. So
I feel you. So you're able to tune that out. Is politics today, from your perspective, is it essentially cancerous? Do you think that we can get through the vitriol and the hatred that we're experiencing so frequently today?
I can't answer that. All I know is that, you have to love your family. You have to love wanting things to be better and have the humility to say, okay, I voted to get myself into this situation. I can vote myself to get out of it, but I can't keep doing the same thing.
Right.
So the question is it bad enough yet? I don't know.
Yeah.
All
that's
right.
a conversation we have frequently.
At what point does, for example, somebody stop smoking? Is it when they can't climb a flight of stairs before they become breathless? Is it because, they suddenly have, early onset erectile dysfunction? At what point are they going, is it when they have something on their x-ray? Is it when they have a cough that won't go away? How often does somebody proactively do what it is that they're supposed to do? So the question is it bad enough yet? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. We don't know how bad it's going to get. We've talked about it frequently, though.
You're talking to voters, though. What are they on the north end as you campaign? What are you hearing? Do you feel like they've had enough?
I feel that there are people who are stratified on the basis of class more than party. I think that there are people who think that no matter what happens, the monster isn't going to eat them. The monster of inflation, the monster of crime, it's not going to happen here, that they're safe. There's no safe. All right. There's no safe.
There's no safe. Okay. All right. We're gonna get to take a break, and so I don't want to ask any other questions. So you're in the middle of an answer when we hit the break. We are gonna on the break. We'll go to AM. We'll do commercials on the live stream side. We'll take a look at some of your comments in chat and ask Dr. Miles some comments and questions from the chat room. We come back out of the break. We're going to get into specific topics. We're talking about transportation and taxes and kind of all the big things to talk about and kind of see where Dr. Miles stands on that. So stick around. We're talking with Dr. Jamie Miles running on the 23rd district, the seat that's currently held by Greg Nance. It's going to be the two of them on the ballot. So you get to get informed a little bit and make a decision who you're going to cast your vote for. And Dr. Miles, we thank you for coming in on Sunday. So stick around. We're going to go to break. K-Dog, Paul, Tom, Bob Ross running the boards, and Lori's around here somewhere, probably eating her dinner. I don't know what she's doing. She's not even in studio right now. I don't know. People show up and then they vanish. It's amazing how we do a radio show like this. I'm working with a bunch of amateurs. All right.
You're mumbling again.
I love you guys. Hold on. Outlaw Radio, we're back out. I was stalling for the commercial bump. That's all I was doing. I'm a pro at this. I do this for a living. Hold on. Outlaw Radio, back after this. All right, Outlaw Radio. We are again talking with Dr. Jamie Miles, running for state representative in the 23rd. And quick break on the Facebook side. Looking for questions or comments in the chat. We've had a couple people talking about their experience having. Rick said he's been the doc owl. Just really quickly, do you? Maybe this is not an easy question to answer in 2 minutes. Do you feel like your perception of things is different? And if so, how? By was it your mom or your dad that came through the concentration camps? Was it?
Neither of my parents came through them. My mother's family.
Your mother's family. Okay.
All right. Actually fled years before. My father's family went to Russia, all right, out of Germany. So
do you feel like your perception of things is different because of that experience from them, that how you were raised or what you heard about or what you learned or their experiences? Does that impact, you think, how you see things today?
I think that my childhood experiences were impacted, certainly. I don't think that any child can be listening to the stories related to them by the ladies with, the tattooed numbers on their arms playing mahjong, just idly chatting. I don't think that kind of trauma that they have gone through ever goes away. And we certainly see that there's a whole medical phenomenon that's...
Hold that thought. We're coming back on AM. Hold on. Outlaw Radio with Dr. Jimmy Miles. Back after this.
I'm Brandy Cruz, host of the Undivided Podcast, and you're listening to Outlaw Radio. Good luck.
All right, Outlaw Radio. Dr. Jimmy Miles in studio with us again, running in 23rd District. Dr. Miles, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. We were talking on the Facebook side. I want to give you a chance to wrap up that thought, just about how your experience, having had members of your mom's family escaping from Nazi Germany, and how that impacts how you see the world, if it does at all. And you were kind of explaining that.
Right. Having those experiences as a young child, I myself went into I talked about this on one of my public forums. I talked about the fact that I actually went into a catatonic state because I'm just so overwhelmed at that age that adults had not stepped up to take care of the children. You know, I had one of the survivors of the twin studies that was telling me stories. And being this precocious reader, what did I do? I started, with Anna Frank's story as a gateway drug, and then ended up with QB7 and the transcripts from the Nuremberg trials. And after reading this and asking my parents questions and not having any answers as to why people didn't protect their children, why they didn't stop this from happening, I just didn't want to live in a world where people let this happen. People did nothing. And so I just stopped wanting to be. I stopped wanting to laugh. I stopped wanting to do child things. I wanted to stop eating and drinking, and ended up in Boston Children's hospitals with lines put into me. And my mother, who was getting ready to give birth to my sister, begging me to not
Wow.
go away. And she said, if something happens, who's going to take care of your brother and, your sister?
Wow. I want to be fair to your campaign, so I don't want to go down this, but I would love to continue this conversation with you at some point, just on a historical kind of experiential conversation. I think there's so much to get from that, so I'm hoping we can continue that. But I want to be fair, because the goal for this is to let people get to know you as a candidate,
Right.
and I don't want to detract from
Just
that.
to sort of circle back to something that we were discussing before, there's a well-known and documented phenomenon now of people with Alzheimer's actually having recurrence of memories. So when they're placed in support care facilities now, they're sundowning and suddenly they're going back to, that time.
Oh, fascinating.
Amazing. Okay, let's bust into some topics really quick, and some of the kind of the core issues of what's going on, and I think we'll start in kind of towards the medical end of things, just based off of your past experience. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion now about what we do about kind of the entire sphere of what is homelessness, right? So homeless, mental health, drug addiction, decisions not to be housed. Like, what is your perspective on this homeless crisis, and is what should the legislature be doing in regards of ways to address that? I know it's a broad umbrella, but I want you to take it where you think is best served from a legislative position.
Okay, so first of all, I think that you need to look to see what part of this is a mental health crisis, what part of this is a failure to thrive, which is a term that we usually use for children, but you can have that for adults as well, as a result of chemical use and abuse. There are, at last count, somewhere between 10 and 20 million immigrants into this country. I don't see that number of people on the streets. Why?
I don't know.
Because they're getting free shelters, free homes, free
Okay.
apartments, free housing.
So there is money. There is money for resources. All right. These are people. These are somebody's mother, somebody's father, somebody's son, somebody's daughter. It is not humane if I saw a dog that was injured in its own feces, I wouldn't think that it would be a good idea to just step over it.
Mhm.
All right. But if it's a person, suddenly that's okay. That's not okay. It's not humane. All right. So I think that there are a lot of issues. All right. And unfortunately, some of them are more politically expedient than others. All right. But again, having the epistemic humility to say, all right, we done effed up. All right. How did that work out? You know, Thomas Sowell is famous for saying there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. All right. So how did it work out when we didn't do something about homelessness? How did it work out when, for example, Oregon decriminalized hard drugs? How did it work out, for example, when New York City went full bore with rent control? Did that bring the rents down? Did Oregon suddenly have less drug people on the street? How did that work out? How did it work out in California when they decriminalized stealing up to $1,000? You know what? Sorry. Have you seen it? I'm looking for a victimless crime. Have you seen it? You seen
Well, we
any
could
of those
talk about
around
one
here?
Trump was prosecuted for in New York, but that wouldn't really count.
You understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yes.
All right. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. I think that if something didn't work, you don't have to repeat it. What you should do is should look to see what is working. If I was a physician and I gave you a medicine to ostensibly lower your blood pressure and it didn't lower your blood pressure, would you continue to take that
Nope.
medicine? If I gave you a drug to treat erectile dysfunction and it didn't work, I'm not saying that.
Well,
All right. And it didn't work, you wouldn't take it.
That's going to be
And
a
much-
hell of a bump right there.
Right. And what was worse, you had a terrible side effect.
Mhm.
Say you lost all your hair. All right.
He's
take his
I'm not taking my hat off. That's
Oh,
okay.
okay.
That's okay.
That was
That's
well
fine.
done.
That's good.
That was
I'm
well
not
done.
a very funny person.
I think.
Oh,
you're
that was
great.
hilarious.
I think you're good.
So you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. How many times do you have to do the same thing that isn't working? And how many times do you have to reelect people who got you in this position? They're not doing worse, but you're doing worse.
Mhm. So then, what is the resolution then? If it isn't what we've been doing, if it isn't the pattern, the policies of leaving them alone, giving, we're not going to treat them, we're going to ignore the problem, we're going to, as you said, step over them.
You know,
What-
there
what
was
is the
money to build intern camps for people who weren't vaccinated. Did you know that?
Yes.
You know that Herr
Mhm.
Inslee built intern camps for people who refused to get vaccinated.
I knew there was money for it. Did he
So
actually build
there's
some?
there's
Okay.
no, they're built. In fact, I have on my computer a snapshot of the LinkedIn posting for the jobs for physicians and other workers for that.
There was literally a military job posting for it. Right.
Wow. So then,
So there
we
there's
have
housing.
space. We have space for them if we chose to use it. Is what you're
Right.
saying.
There's also space. We just discussed that there are people who are being housed. You're paying for it.
Mhm.
All right. So there's money. All right. If I give you money and you decide to use it on crack instead of buying some organic fruits and vegetables, you use the money. You didn't make good choices with it.
Right.
To the doctor's point, there are tens of billions of dollars going to NGOs, non-government organizations, specifically to keep the flow of illegal immigrants coming and being passed around the country. Money for transportation, money for housing, money for food, everything. It's all covered, all of it. And I mean billions. Watch Line in the Sand, the new James O'Keefe documentary that came out.
That was brilliant, by the way.
It was really good. Yeah.
So the I just want to make sure I'm understanding. The premise is it's not that we don't have the money; it's where we're spending the money that we have, and we're earmarking money for.
Look what happened in North Carolina.
Mhm.
All right. It's a combination of stiff necks and rednecks. All right. That are the cavalry.
Mhm.
It's not FEMA. Look at what Ron DeSantis is doing. All right. He prepositioned everything before. He didn't wait for the disaster. He got ready for it. All right. So, these are choices that people make. All right. There's nobody coming to save you.
Mhm.
All right. I'm sorry. This whole process of COVID, I'm sorry, we have to go back. I know that people are done with it, but this was one big compliance exercise. I'm a physician. My husband's a psychiatrist. Either of us can tell you about the Milgram experiments, all right, which is when people were, do you know what I'm referring to?
I believe I do, but I don't
Milgram
want to.
experiments, okay? Yep. These were all compliance exercises, all right? And when you start to peel away the layers of what nonsensical things people were asked to do, all right, what was the purpose? Cui bono? Who benefited from that? It wasn't the people.
Right. No.
All right. This was an upward transfer of wealth. There is money. Look at the boondoggle, the $1 billion boondoggle that is the electrification of the ferry. Mm-hmm. All right. How much money could have been spent? They spent more money stopping people, sending threatening letters to physicians to stop them from prescribing ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, all right, than they spend on stopping fentanyl. All right. Your children are being deliberately poisoned. And why isn't anybody stopping them? Because they don't want to.
Because there's a lot of money in it.
They don't want to. All right. At some point, you have to see what you see. Like the French poet, see what you see. Not what you want to see.
Right.
See what you see.
Wow. Okay. Paul?
I was enjoying the conversation. I was watching the look on Kevin's face over there. It's a pleasure to see somebody lecture you in a way, not like really lecturing him, but he's
mean to me all the time.
No. Now that's your.
He's just a mean person.
Yeah. That's it.
He's awful.
All right. A little bit into your platform, kind of some things. Talk to me. Let's go at it from this angle. If you had to sit down and you get elected, what's one of your passion projects that you would like to go to Olympia and work on?
I think the first one would be healthy food for healthy families.
Nice.
I think that
kind of a Kennedy-esque platform there.
Food is medicine.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. When I was a resident, I was taking care of a African-American basketball player, all right, in New Orleans. And he was a type 1 diabetic.
Okay.
And he kept telling me he was taking his insulin. Well, he wasn't until he would go into a diabetic coma. So I actually went to his house. Turns out that he didn't have a reliable refrigerator to store the insulin. So I took a collection and essentially we bought him a refrigerator specifically for that insulin. All right. Sometimes these are logistical problems that get in the way. Sometimes it's not being able to afford healthy food. Why can't people use HSA and FSA to buy organic food?
Yeah, that's a good question.
All right.
That stuff's not getting
Why
any
do
cheaper.
food stamps cover the worst foods?
Yeah, we've had the conversation in here for years that it almost seems right now that people can't afford to eat healthy because organic foods, for example, have gotten so much more expensive. Microgreens, other stuff.
Even non-organic, even if you just get regular fruits and vegetables. I mean, it's far cheaper to buy a box noodle or
70% of children's diets are made up of processed foods.
Yeah.
All right, I wouldn't give that to my dog.
Yeah. It is something we've talked about we're going to take a quick break. It's something we've talked about on the show before, though. It is uber expensive to eat responsibly. We'll talk about that some more in a second. Hold on. Outlaw Radio, we're going to take one more break. Come back with Dr. Jamie Miles. We're back after this. It's Outlaw Radio. So let me ask this question. From a legislative standpoint, what can the legislature do in regards to this issue with nutrition? Should there be limits placed on what food stamps can and can't purchase? Should there what's the result?
I would love to make it easy for people to get locally sourced healthy foods. I would love to make it easier for schools to obtain locally sourced healthy foods. I would love community farms. I would love CSAs to work with schools to supply to them so that infrastructure is both healthy food for kids as well as water supplies that are protected, all right, with respect to lead and contaminants and fluoride, et cetera, so that these are not reserved just for people who can afford better. All right. And I think the kind of human capital that we're wasting by not investing in healthy kids and healthy moms is going to result in a workforce that is sicker and not able to do what it is that the state of Washington should be doing. I think that what the legislature can be doing is working with communities to shore up that infrastructure.
Well, and I think part of what you're saying too, we're already seeing, right? I mean, diabetes is through the roof, heart disease is through the roof.
You have
cancers are through the roof.
50% of all kids, all right, who have chronic diseases.
All right, hold on. We're talking with Dr. Jamie Miles. We're coming back. One more segment with the doctor, running for state representative in the 23rd district. We're back after this on Outlaw.
I'm Brandy Cruz, host of the Undivided Podcast, and you're listening to Outlaw Radio. Good luck.
Outlaw Radio. One more segment. Dr. Jamie Miles joining us. She's running for state representative in the 23rd district up north. Dr. Miles, thanks again for coming in. This is a great conversation. We're talking about nutrition, healthy food, and you've stressed how important it is for the legislature to work locally to make that food more available. Go ahead.
It's not just healthy food. It is being proactive with respect to, things like not poisoning our children. Okay. There are more people who died in Kitsap County of fentanyl poisoning than died of COVID. Not with COVID, of COVID. All right. I don't see anybody having an accounting of those kids who are developmentally delayed. I don't see any accounting of schools, all right, who have a decreasing student enrollment but increasing budget. Now, 3 years ago, it was $14,000 on average that was spent per child in the state of Washington, about $5,000 for homeschooling. Okay. 3 years later, it costs $18,000 on average, but test scores have dropped in core competencies by 30%. So instead of doing more with less, they've actually done less with more. All right. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a medicine that isn't working. This is a modality that needs to be changed. All right. And yes, some of it is accountable to increasing insurance costs for buildings, et cetera, but the cost of all of this is rising higher than the cost of living and your wages. All right. With diminishing returns. All right. So it's not just healthy food. I mean, I thank God every day, all right, that I can eat well, live well, and think well. All right. I don't know what's going to be happening to parents who have to choose between healthy food, paying for medical bills. All right. You think organic food or healthy food is expensive? Try disease. All right. Try paying for chronic disease. Having taken care of one child with a heart condition and one child who underwent chemo, I can tell you that as a physician, all right, as somebody who knew how to get through the system, those conversations you have with God, all right, praying that anything that you would do would spare them. All right. Why, again, wait until that's the position that you're in? You want things to be better for your children. You want them to financially do better. You want them to do better than you educationally. This is the first time in U.S. history that life expectancy rates have dropped. All right, what are we not doing? All right, and why are we not asking the important questions? You know, this is like our betters taking one of those laser pointers, and we're the cats, and they're going like this. You know, they're hanging over the balustrades, watching us fight amongst ourselves, and then they go back and they pop the champagne because we're not scaling the wall saying, how could you do this to us?
Yeah. Have we reached a tipping? Well, sticking on education for a second, have we reached a tipping point as enrollments continue to drop because more parents are taking their kids out of the public school system, and as the cost per student then has to rise to close the gap in funding,
and yet we're still not allowing those funds to follow the backpack.
Mm-hmm. Are you in support of the idea of vouchers or that type of thing?
I'm in support for choice. I'm the pro-choice candidate. I think that you should have the choice as to where you educate your kid. I don't think that kids should be stuck like apartheid in failing schools. I think that we should go back to merit. I think that if a kid is doing well, they should be accelerated. I literally had a teacher tell me that because my kid was reading early, I should not put him in a public school because it would delay him, because they had to go at a pace akin to the slowest student. All right. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I'm the pro-choice candidate. I'm pro-choice for healthy foods. I'm pro-choice for smart kids, getting the education that fits that kid. I'm pro-choice if that works for parents. If you want to put your kid in a public school, you do that.
Yeah, the voucher idea. Well, I'm totally in favor of the voucher idea. Like it makes perfect sense to me. If you want to put your kid in a public school, then fine. But if you want to move them to a private school or some other scenario and take that money,
I was bored to tears. They literally shipped me off to college. I would do things like dye the neighborhood dogs green for St. Patrick's Day. All right. I was bored.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bad things happened when I was bored. All right.
And you were bored because
I felt like I was sort of stuck in,
mm-hmm.
Thank goodness I was a copious reader and my mother was a teacher, because she was on me, and my father was an engineer and gave me all sorts of thought problems and gave me things to take apart. I remember once being on a cross-country trip. I took apart the arm of the seat on the plane, and the stewardess, we call them stewardesses still. The stewardess was beside herself. My father says, "Don't worry, she'll put it back together again." You know, when my father was bored, he would have me take apart a watch. All right. He wouldn't let me drive my first car until I rebuilt it.
Wow.
Okay. Because every daughter of his was going to know how to fix her car. If she couldn't fix it, she was not going to be taken advantage of by some mechanic.
One quick question in regards to, as a member of the healthcare community and having been a healthcare provider and all of that, what do you feel like is the level of care in our state medically? Like, is there something the legislature should be doing differently in regards to medical access, medical care? I think about what's going on in Kitsap with the relocation of Harrison Medical Center into St. Michael's and Silverdale, then the closing of the one in Bremerton. But the ER wait times are awful.
And how is that working?
It hasn't.
Again,
I don't think it's worked well at all.
Ask the question, and then what?
Yeah, well, but that's my question. Like, how do you feel it's being addressed? Is there something that
I don't feel like it's being addressed.
Okay.
I feel like the center of all of it should be starting at primary care. I think that there are far too many specialists and not enough good primary care physicians.
Can the legislature do something about that? Is that about influence? Is that about incentives? Like, how does the legislature get involved in it?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's both.
Okay. I'm trying to figure. We got about 5 minutes, and so I'm gonna lob this to you. The people will say, "Oh, you're giving her a softball," but I got 5 minutes. What else is on your heart? What is passion to you that needs to be done if you go to the legislature? What is something else you feel like has to be addressed that isn't adequately being addressed now?
I mean, besides healthy kids, healthy food, healthy water, better schools that actually work for students, trade schools that basically have the kind of work opportunities that we need in the state of Washington, building a healthy workforce. So not only do we have people who are healthy enough to work, but an environment regulatory wise that companies know that they can come here and have a healthy workforce, that they can have predictable, reliable regulations and tax rates. There's not just one thing.
Yeah. You talk on your website about being a big supporter of law enforcement. There's opposing camps, right? Camp number one says we need to support our guys in blue. We need to give them all the tools that they need. We need to back them. We need to quit cutting them off at the knees in their ability to do things. Camp number two says we have inherent racism within the police departments. There's an overuse of force. There's not appropriate checks and balances. And in some scenarios, some cops are thugs. Because I don't think both ends are wrong, but I think that both ends are like overly blown. Like maybe 1 in 100 cops are bad, but the only one we talk about is the one that is, not the 99 that aren't. How do you marry those two, or do you marry those two ideas, the differing viewpoints about our police?
Well, that was very convoluted. All right. I'm going to simplify that and bring it to something that I can better relate to.
Perfect.
All right. We always had those physicians in the community that were excellent. We always had those physicians that were basically HODADs, hands of death and destruction. Okay. And we knew not to go to them. All right. And that was word of mouth. And that was friends and family saying, don't go to this person. All right. I think that it's a reflection on the entire law enforcement community when they entertain a cop that is exercising bad judgment, the same way that it's reflecting poorly on the priest community if they have a pedophile amongst their mess. All right. I can tell you that we have certain allowances when we have therapies. You know, there is no perfect world. I'm not a perfect person. Neither are you. Mm-hmm. David was not a perfect person. MLK and JFK were imperfect people. So I don't know that we're actually going to expect perfection. We don't live in that kind of world. Mm-hmm. All right. So I would err in the side of protecting people. And if you're not in that position, to err on the side of giving deference to the officer.
Okay. Perfect. All right. If people want to find out more about you, if they want to get in contact with you, if they want to find out your platform, what's the best way to do that?
They can find my platform online. They can contact me directly by email or give me a call.
The website is electjamiemiles.com.
Yes. And we have a public forum in Hansville this Thursday.
Where's the format?
It's at the community center.
Okay, in Hansville at what time?
It's 6:30. Doors open at 5. I understand there's a cap on the audience size, so I would suggest that somebody gets there early. But I'm always happy to speak to people. So.
Awesome.
As evidenced by this past week at Olympic College, where my opponent's supporters were so welcoming, especially on the anniversary of October 7th.
Yeah.
I'm thinking she's being a little facetious
that might be a little,
there. Yeah,
just a little bit. Dr. Miles, thanks for coming in. I hope we continue this again.
Yes.
And if you, I'm not saying I don't think you will or won't or whatever, but if you make it through November, I'd love to continue the dialogue with you.
Yes, if I had a horse, it would be called the Rocinante at this point. Do you know why?
I do not know why.
was Don Quixote's horse.
Oh, Chasing Windmills. Yeah.
There
Okay.
you go.
Awesome. Dr. Miles, thanks again. Again, you can find out more about Jamie Miles. Go to likejamiemiles.com. She's going to be on the November ballot if you're on the North End and in the 23rd district. So educate yourself. Get to know your candidates. Figure out who you're voting for. Don't vote for the R or the D. Vote for the candidate that you think is going to be best for the district. Dr. Miles, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Much
All right.
appreciated.
We'll take a break. When we come back, just around the corner, we'll have Chris Gergen, Republican strategist and consultant and a good friend of the show. They'll be joining us from Vegas. Back after this on the Outlaw Radio Network.
Greed, deception, abuse of power, that's no plan.
I'm the enemy. Because I like to think. I like to read. I'm into freedom of speech and freedom of choice. I'm the kind of guy who likes to sit in a greasy spoon and wonder, gee, should I have the T-bone steak or the jumbo rack of barbecue ribs with the side order of gravy fries? I want high cholesterol. I want to eat bacon and butter and buckets of cheese, okay? I want to smoke a Cuban cigar the size of Cincinnati in the non-smoking section. I want to run through the streets naked with green jello all over my body reading Playboy magazine. Why? Because I suddenly might feel the need to, okay, pal? I've seen the future. You know what it is? It's a 47-year-old virgin sitting around in his beige pajamas, drinking a banana broccoli shake, singing, I'm an Oscar Mayer winner.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network. OutlawRadioNetwork.com.
All right, it's the Outlaw Radio Network, hour number 2. Coming up in just a matter of moments, Christopher Gergen will join us, Republican strategist, consultant, all-around good guy, and big friend of the show, driving to us from Vegas. Before I bring Chris on, we normally spend a little bit of time talking about the candidates after they've appeared. We're going to push that back until right at 10 o'clock. And we'll discuss our conversation with Dr. Jamie Miles and kind of our impressions of her and all of that. Just because we have back-to-back guests, we're going to push that off till 10. So I just wanted to get that out there. All of your comments and questions in chat are always welcome as we head off to my favorite place to go on vacation. And the man I can't wait to show me around to the non-touristy things. Joining us from Vegas, Dark Horse Political's very own Chris Gergen. Chris, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you? What's going on, Tom, Paul? Good to see you, gentlemen.
Good to see
Lori,
you, Chris.
I think Lori's off camera, right?
She's right there.
There's the wave. There's the wave.
Hey, question before we get to the really important questions. Did you make it down for the Tropicana implosion? Were you downtown when that thing went down?
I was not. I try to avoid going to the Strip unless I absolutely have to go down to the Strip. But I did watch it streamed live. It was a little bit sad, right? I mean, I've been coming to Vegas 25 years and you know, the Trop has been around. The Trop was one of the original. Now that building was not one of the original ones, but the Trop itself, I think from the late 50s, mid 50s, something like that, 1950s. I'm
sad the Trop's gone.
Yeah, they're building a stupid baseball stadium there because that's exactly what the Strip needs, is just more traffic. And so they're putting the baseball stadium for the Oakland A's that are going to be the Las Vegas A's, I think in 2026 or 2027, something like that. I don't know. It keeps changing.
Yeah. I thought, just from a Vegas standpoint, I thought it was weird to put that on the Strip. Like a Legion Stadium where the Raiders play, that makes sense, right? It's on the other side of 215. It's close enough to the Strip, but not, eating up that valuable real estate. And okay, that's where you want to put it. It's going to be a great thing to see. But Phil,
I got to ask. So first time I went to Vegas we stayed at the Tropicana. And I thought, I knew nothing. I'm like, we're staying at a place named after orange juice, really?
Yeah.
I knew nothing. It was pretty nice. It was like 25 years ago, but
yeah.
So Chris, let's dive local politics a little bit, and then later we're going to talk with you about how you're trying to stir some stuff up and get some people thinking. So we'll get to that later. What?
I don't know why you would make that sort of accusation against me.
We'll get to that.
This is not starting off good, Kevin.
Hey, listen, man, we're like,
you feel like he's doing an interview with a lady from ABC right now.
That's exactly right.
We're just over 3 weeks from the general election.
Yeah.
How do you feel about what you're seeing out of these candidates, especially the ones that you're working with on the Republican side, but just in the Washington State election that we're coming up on? Just what are your overall impression of what you're experiencing?
Starting with the candidates, unfortunately, are kind of in Washington State. Not all, but many are kind of left out on an island to kind of fend for themselves, right? There's not a lot of support. It's one of the reasons why I wrote my book called Win. You can get on Amazon, shameless plug, is to teach candidates how to run their campaigns. Unfortunately, candidates throughout the state, you've got some that are experienced, guys like Jesse, who is a client of mine, full disclosure. He is a friend. Jesse knows how to run campaigns. And honestly, I don't even know why he has me around, because he knows what to do. He's an experienced guy. He's been doing it, a decade. And then you've got other candidates that like Lauren back in 2020. Whether you loved him or you didn't love him doesn't really make a difference. You have to admit that, 1.75 million people turning out for you on election day is a fairly good day at the office, even though he didn't win. And building the grassroots, building the organization that he did. Warren didn't know anything about politics whatsoever. He was just a small town cop. And so that's the value that I was able to bring to the table. But it wasn't really so much about me, because I could only do so much. I'm one guy. It was all of our volunteers, literally hundreds of volunteers throughout the state, that are the ones that made that happen. And so like in an LD race, that's the most challenging part, other than fundraising. Fundraising is always the most challenging part for a candidate, especially a new candidate. But organizing a group of people together to work together, right, on behalf of getting you elected is a tough gig. And unfortunately, the state party's not giving them any sort of help. HROC picks winners and losers, which is maybe something we can discuss a little later. And so these candidates are kind of left to fend for themselves. Some of them do it really well. Some of them are running really good races, and then others, obviously, they're struggling. And I think my biggest, if I could, sum everything up into one big gripe, my biggest gripe is that there's no strategic forethought at all behind anything that the Republican Party does in Washington State. Now, I know that there are a lot of people that maybe would take exception to that, to which I would reply, show me the proof. Show me the evidence. Why are we spending money in certain races that are R versus R races that are going to keep people in your caucus, right? Why are we spending money there when you have contested seats, right? So we're at 40 seats. They have managed, they being Wilcox and crew, which Wilcox is no longer around. But under Wilcox's leadership, they went from 48 to 40. So if we lose one seat, now we're in a super minority. So there is no room to screw this up whatsoever. And so why are we putting $40,000 into the race in the 2nd district? Because you've endorsed a guy against the other guy who has the endorsements from their county party. Like, why are we working against ourselves? Like, it's just stupid. And so there's allocation of funds problems. There's we're spending money in races that we have no reason to be spending money in, because the races just aren't winnable, right? And then when it comes to messaging and overall messaging, the candidates aren't saying the same thing. The candidates are talking about issues that are their own little personal pet stuff. They're not talking about issues that are important to voters, and it's just a train wreck. And so that has prompted that is due to a lack of it's a leadership vacuum, right? And it starts at the top.
It does. It seems like it really starts at the state party, which is effectively like they're there in name, right? But like you said, there's no support from them to any of the candidates, right? Now you made the point, Chris, that you got this group. What'd you call them? ATOC or what did you call
HROC?
HROC. Thank you. Yeah. And you talk about how they pick winners and losers. How do they do that? Who are they? Give people a little bit of insight.
Well, HROC. So HROC is basically the caucus, the Republicans that are in the legislative district in the lower house. The lower house is the House of Representatives. So each chamber, the upper house and the lower house, the House and the Senate, they both have a group, right? And that group is called a caucus. So their organizational arm, meaning how they raise money, how they fundraise, it's a little bit convoluted, but their main group is called HROC, House Republican Organizational Committee, I think is what it stands for. And so what they do is that their brain trust is supposed to get together and figure out strategically how they're going to gain more seats in the House, right? And then John Braun, who's the leader of the Senate, John gets together with Chris Gergen, who I believe is his deputy, and then their brain trust is supposed to figure out how we're going to get defend seats that we have to defend, and then pick up seats that are winnable. Unfortunately, unfortunately, there's very little strategic thinking there. And so what has gone on is I'll give an example. Last cycle, you had Sutherland, Representative Sutherland. HROC drafted Sam Lowe and ran him against Sutherland because they didn't like Sutherland. Why?
Was it because he was too outspoken for him or what?
Oh, no, it's because he was too conservative and he's pro-life.
Okay.
Right. And so then you've got in this race, you've got Matt. So Wilcox has Wilcox's political career has bought the farm. He quit because of his failure of leadership. He says it's other reasons, but it's failure of leadership. He knows that we're most likely going into super minority, and he'd rather have somebody else holding the bag than him hold the bag. So he stepped out and put Stokesbury in charge. Stokesbury couldn't find his ass with both hands tied behind his back, which is obvious by how they're running the show, right? So they're giving $40,000 to Snaza, who is running against Marshall in the second, and that is a safe red district. That 40,000 should have gone into a seat that we have to keep, like an open seat, like Jesse's seat in the 26th. Now, to their credit, Atroc has given Jesse Young some money, but instead of 65, why didn't they give him 105? Right? Because the Democrats, when you looked at the guy that Spencer Hutchins, they dumped a ton of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars into Spencer to get him over the line to barely squeak out a win.
Yeah,
they know that Jesse can win, and so they think. I'm guessing that maybe they think that he doesn't need the money because Jesse's just a better candidate than Hutchins was. But at the end of the day, why are we putting any money into the second? There should be none. Why? Okay, if they don't want to give the money to Jesse, then why don't we give it to Kerry Kennedy up in the 10th, who is in a winnable, a tough race, very tough race, right, against Clyde Shavers in the 10th. I think Clyde's in the 10th. Yeah, it's Shavers. That is a winnable. That's a winnable race, right, with the right candidate running the right messaging and so forth. But they're not giving her any money at all. They're not giving her any support. So it just doesn't make any sense. So when I say picking winners and losers, that's what I'm talking about. Well, I like this one. No, that one's icky. I don't want to give him any money. Oh, this one's good. This one's good. I don't really know how I feel about that one. Blah, blah, blah. That is not a strategic plan, right? There's no statistical analysis. Listen, when you go through these races, gentlemen and lady, you have to, I don't want to forget you, Lori.
There you go.
So when you go through these races, you have to look at statistically. We know, by we, I mean consultants, we know statistically how much the needle's going to move after the primary because of historically how much it has moved in the past over the last 10 years. You take that average and you can pretty much guess what the turnout is or how the races are going to turn out. That's how the media and different ones, that's how they know, and that's how they can guess who's going to win and who's going to lose, is because they do the statistical analysis on this. Right. So the 26th moves a certain spot. Now there's obviously there's outliers, right? Obviously sometimes you beat it, sometimes you underperform, but at the end of the day, there are averages. So we believe that where the Republican vote sits versus the Democrat sits in the 26th, based on that margin that we know that the Republican is going to gain versus what the Democrat's going to gain, we believe that Jesse's going to win. Okay. But that type of analysis, I'm just using that as an example, you do that analysis on all of the races. Once that analysis is done, it's the data that should dictate where the resources go. But there is no one, obviously, at H-Rock that either A, even knows to do that. And if this is the first you're hearing of it, H-Rock, I'll send you a bill. You guys can pay it because you've learned something tonight. But this is how the decision should be made, right? The WSRP, I guarantee you, the chairman at the WSRP doesn't know what I just said. Guaranteed it. Because he's not raising money to help any of these candidates. He's not making that pitch. He's not presenting a plan. And that's my biggest gripe, is that there's
no leadership. None.
That's right.
Well, and here's the other question for you too, Chris, which is just the financial outlook for the Washington State Republican Party is just dire. I mean, it's awful. I mean, part of it is they're not putting the money in the right places, but the other part of it is they don't have enough money to put in the right places. How do you Like in a long-winded question, Chris, as we've looked at the state legislature, we've seen Republicans slowly lose status and slowly lose seats in every election over the last 3 or 4 election cycles, just slowly dwindling down. If I'm a Republican with a whole bunch of money to spend and I'm watching these numbers slowly ebb down, why would I give my money to the state Republican Party? It feels like it's flushing money down the commode.
Well, it is. And that's why. So I warned everybody, if you guys go back, I think I might have even been on this show and talked about it, but I know I wrote some op-eds and I did my own videos and did some shows on this and really laid out why Semi Bird and backing Semi was a recipe for disaster. The guy couldn't raise money. The guy had a little bit of difficulty with the truth, putting it nicely. And he was just not a good candidate. And then you've got Dave Reichert, who Dave is a moderate Republican, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. That's what he is. Okay. I don't necessarily support him on certain issues at all. But at the end of the day, he's the guy we got. He's the guy we got to back because from a Republican perspective, he's the guy we have to back because he's better than Ferguson. And that's just kind of where we are, where, well, I'm tired of voting for the lesser of two evils. Well, okay. That makes no difference. This is the reality. What you want to do and the choice laid before you and what you have to do are two entirely different things. There are a lot of things I don't want to do, but I know that I have to do them. And so as a conservative, you can't stay home. I would like to see Reichert win, not because I think Reichert's amazing and he's like the conservative champion that we've all been, those of us in my political stripe, he's not the second coming. Right. But he's better than Ferguson. Right. And so
lump of coal would be better than Ferguson.
And that's a fact. Right.
Yeah.
And so these mistakes that have been made with the WSRP regarding the governor's race, and how the whole convention went down and all of that was just a nightmare. Right. And then, the chairman decided that he was going to try to spin it and try to make it this good thing and try to fix it with messaging. Well, all he did was make everyone mad. Everyone on both sides. The Semi people were mad. The Reichert people were mad. The donors were mad. And the donors blatantly told him, nope, no more money. Have fun with your decision. And so it was basically Walsh screwed that up. Walsh being the chairman screwed that up. He had one pathway of escape, and that was to not make an endorsement.
Mm-hmm.
That was his one pathway.
And he tried to do that. I mean, at the beginning of the convention, he was like, well, we're not going to endorse anybody. And then Semi Bird's people all got up in arms, and then 100%. He basically crumbled under the pressure.
Yep. Agreed. And to do, in fairness, because I've been highly critical of Walsh for quite a while, and there's reasons for that go back 4 years, back to Lauren's campaign. But, he's not a dictator, right? The chairmanship is not a dictator. He can't just say, nope, this is what we're doing. On some things he has that sort of span of control, but on issues like that, the delegates have a voice, as they should, right? Because it's their party too.
Yeah.
So he got kind of, overpowered, so to speak. But again, that comes back to leadership. It comes back to not whipping votes. Reichert's people, I think, handled that incorrectly as well. I think that they didn't whip the votes. I think that well, I can't say that it was incorrect. It was just their choice, right? Because I don't believe that Dave Reichert saw any sort of value in having the WSRP endorsement, which obviously there was no value because, as I said, as I prognosticated all the way back in May or April, I said he would get 9% of the vote, and I believe he got 10. Right.
Is what we've seen here in Washington.
Do you know that Lori got more votes on this show for state representative percentage-wise than Semi Bird got on a state level with the Washington Republican Party's endorsement for his race? Outlaw Radio Network carries more props for the people we endorse than the WSRP does. I just wanted to put that out there, Paul. Go ahead.
You sure?
I'm sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to I had to let Chris know that we're a big deal.
We
Chris,
are a big deal. That's why I'm on the show.
Have you seen any bigger of an complete crap stain show F up than what we've experienced in Washington State with the Republican Party? When you look at the things that you've just described, I mean, anywhere else in the nation with your experience, have you seen a screwed up state any more than this?
Yes. Well, no, I
Seriously?
wouldn't say anymore. It was about the same level. So Dark Horse Political was started in Oregon. A lot of people don't realize this. Like DHP was started because I ran for I don't think I've ever told this story before publicly. But the whole purpose of DHP is basically rooted in what you're experiencing in Washington State. So when I ran for the state, I was a dyed in the wool. I know this is going to be hard for you to believe, but I was a dyed in the wool Republican. I was a company guy, right? I was not a We the People guy. I was a company guy. Okay.
Okay.
I was a Bush Republican at the time. I'm sorry. I just mea culpa. And the party came to me and said, Chris, we need you to run in District 12 against a guy named John Lively. We think the seat is winnable. We need you to run there so they'll spend money in that district. And we'll back you 100%. We'll help you with money. We'll help you with stuff on the ground. You just do what you need to do. Okay. Long story short. So I run. Then 6 weeks before the election day, they pull all of my support and they give it to another candidate, and they didn't tell me about it. I had to walk into my campaign office on a Super Saturday expecting to see 35, 40 people calling and whipping the vote, and there's no one there. They had canceled it and didn't even tell me. The only person that was there was the intern that they had assigned to me, and he's like, hey, you need to call so-and-so and have a conversation with him. So I call this guy. He avoids my call for a week. Finally, he picks up the phone and says, oh, yeah, we meant to call you, blah, blah, blah. And so I experienced firsthand what the party does when they move on from you or when you're no longer useful. And so all of a sudden it clicked in my head, all of the other people that I had seen get screwed, that maybe it wasn't all their fault. Maybe this is just how politics is done. And so, and I had been, again, a company guy volunteering on the ground for a long time at that point.
Hold on, Chris. We're gonna get ready for break. We'll continue this on the flip side. I've also got a question for you in the Facebook segment as well. So stick around. It's Outlaw Radio Network. Dark Horse Political's very own Chris Gergen joins us from Vegas. We're back after this, right here on Mega Talk. All right, Outlaw Radio.
I can't get over that, man. I'm so sorry that happened to you, Chris.
I'm not, because it made me who I am today.
Well, for sure, right? We all become a product of our experiences. I get that. A lot of people come back from war though with the experience, IED experience and stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, just really quickly in like 90 seconds or less. Has the Republican Party healed from the fracture at all from the Reichert Byrd thing from the convention? Is there any sense of unity? Are
you nuts?
I'm asking our
You're
expert.
Nuts. You're crazy.
I'm asking our expert. Do you think there's any sense of unity in getting behind Reichert now, or is the Byrd crowd still out and angry?
I think some of it is, obviously you've got some that are never going to turn, right? And but a lot of that arguing has subsided, right? I wouldn't call that unity. There's still a huge divide. Huge divide.
Good way to put it. Still the divide, yeah.
Yeah, and as long as there are Republicans on one side hunting heads of the Republicans on the other side, then the Republicans on the other side are going to in turn turn around and hunt heads of the others, right? And so that is unfortunately, and Paul, and I'll answer this after we come back from the break, Paul, your question. Yes, Oregon is as bad or a little bit worse. Oregon's party actually collapsed after Art Robinson took it over. And Art Robinson was actually a better, smarter version than Semi Byrd, but kind of cut from the same cloth.
Okay.
And Art actually took over the party for a while. He became chairman, and then it just kind of devolved.
Okay, hold that thought. Chris, we're going to come back on AM. It's Outlaw Radio with Chris Gergen after this on the Mega Talk Radio Network.
I'm Brandy Cruz, host of the Undivided Podcast, and you're listening to Outlaw Radio. Good luck.
Take a shot. Outlaw Radio. Thanks for checking out the show. We appreciate it. 9:30. Halfway through the show, by the way. Halfway through.
Yeah, halfway through.
On par for 6. Outlaw Radio. Thanks for checking out the show. We appreciate it. We're joined by Chris Gergen again. He's in my favorite town in the entire world, Las Vegas, Nevada.
It's like your only town, man. They had to name a street after you.
Been
down
to San Diego, been to DC. I've done a lot
San
of
Diego's a
traveling.
great
Been to
town
the
too.
Caribbean, been off the coast of South America.
Vegas is like herpes for you, man. It just keeps coming back.
Vegas is glorious, man. Chris, I'm thinking about coming to Vegas in January.
See? Yep.
So
I'll be around.
We'll do something I'll buy you a steak dinner and we'll hang out and just BS about everything. Yeah.
I'm down for steak dinner anytime.
Awesome, man. Okay. So you were going to answer a question that Paul had asked. And then I have a question that Holly's asked a couple times in chat. I forgot about it the first time, but I'm going to double back to it. So go ahead, Paul.
Well, I had asked Chris just a little refresher about if he'd seen any state that was more effed up than Washington State with regards to the party. And I will let you give your answer.
Yeah, or Oregon, California. Michigan has had issues. Wisconsin used to when Scott what was his name? He was the governor there.
My
he ran for president. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
Walker?
Scott Walker, yep.
Scott Walker.
And they had a great party. And then it all fell apart. So there are some, Washington is not unique in its challenges. Mm-hmm. There are some things that they are unique in, and the amount of vitriol between the groups and really the savage stuff that goes on, that is a little bit unique. I'm not saying I've never seen that. I mean, that's politics
for sure.
But
I think you're right. I would say that everywhere you go, there are good people and there's good leaders. I think Washington State is going through a phase where there are many people that are very cancerous in their own way, right?
Agreed.
They invite the division. They like the arguments. They think that they are more than what they really are. They try to raise them. You see it all over the place.
Are you talking about citizens or candidates?
No, members of the party.
Oh, because I think as the parties kind of disintegrate or degrade, I think that trickles out into the populace, and then it just makes the problem worse because, of course, we get our candidates from the populace.
Well, absolutely could be the case, man. I can't disagree with
what do you think, Chris?
You said.
Well, I think that I agree with Tom. It does affect candidate quality because good quality candidates don't necessarily want to be part of a train wreck, right? Yeah. I think too a telltale sign that you've got serious issues is in the consulting class, and I'm one of them, right? So I'll just call my own class out. So there is a boutique industry of losing. To where you can still get paid, make $200, $300, $400, $500 and have no expectations of winning. And so what ends up happening is that relationships are built with party leaders by these consultants. These consultants become the go-to guys because they do what they're told in exchange for, clientele. And so they run the same tired strategy, send some mailers, knock on some doors, they become predictable. And so, for instance, how I was able to take apart Freed so easily back in 2020 was because I learned who his consultants were. I analyzed all of their former clients. Then I looked at all of their structured payments on the things that they did and when they did them. And so I was able to anticipate what they were going to do at every point because they always do the same things.
Follow the same playbook. It's like you're like a football coach.
Right. And so if I know what they're going to do, I know how they're going to run it, then I could always be a step ahead of them. right? And so, you know, and that's there's certain ways that you should do business, and I'm not going to give away trade secrets, but you know, telegraphing what you're going to do is probably not wise.
Mm-hmm.
They always throw across the middle.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
in this defense. Yeah.
If you could ever be the head coach for the Raiders, I mean, they might actually help them win.
Oh man, don't even get me on that, man.
Great game for you guys, by the way, today. By the way, I just wanted to say that.
Oh, it was a great game. Yeah, no, it didn't look so great at the end of the game.
No, it did not. Holly asked this a couple of times. I just want to ask, although I believe that there's an agenda behind this question, but if I don't ask it, I'll be called a schnook.
Any question Holly asks, there's an agenda behind.
She wanted me to ask, did Lauren Culp lose the 2020 gubernatorial election?
Is he the sitting governor now?
Great answer.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well, I think some people out of Lauren's camp had talked about how, well, there was some irregularities in voting, and there was. Yeah. But do you? So I think what her question is, do you think he lost, or do you think it? I think that's what she's going for. I think she's asking if you think the election was fair and
it's a game question. Kevin. It's no different than
I'll answer her directly. The race was not fair. There were voting irregularities, and Lauren is not your sitting governor.
Perfect. There you go. All right.
Yeah. Listen, it's like people having the conversation like, well, Hillary Clinton still complains about how she was cheated out of the presidential victory. You still got Stacey Abrams, who still can't admit that she lost the gubernatorial election.
Sure.
So I mean, it's gone on forever. It'll go on for forever. The issue is, and I've said it before, I'm going to say it every time it comes up, when there are irregularities in an election process that are not adjudicated, you have issues.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Fair enough.
So this is what I know. So this is what I know. When we file a lawsuit challenging the results from the race, our attorney gets threatened with disbarment, run out of town. Lauren and I both get threatened with not only lawsuits personally to us personally, but also against the campaign. And people on our staff are threatened for even questioning anything. Right. So that's not the stance, I would say, or the response from a group of people that ran a clean race. Now, I'm not saying that Lauren won outright. But at the end of the day, if we want to see behind the curtain, right, and you've written all the rules to make it impossible to see behind the curtain,
mm-hmm.
and then you change the rules right after we file a lawsuit stating that everything is sealed, that nobody can see anything, I don't know.
Yeah, it does make you wonder.
Well,
draw your own conclusions.
Does it really make you wonder that the most powerful law enforcement person in the state changes rules to meet his needs?
100%.
Right. Yeah. It's and you got people like Holly that don't even acknowledge that crap. Right. It's just like, I want to know if Chris really thought that, that he lost. I mean, come on. It's a stupid game.
Chris, there's a trifecta of races that I'm paying attention to that matter to me, and it starts at local, goes all the way up to national, and that's the Jesse Young race in the 26th. That's the state race for governor, and then of course what's going to happen with the White House. Do you have in your analytics or your experience, as you look at those three races, do you have a thought on how they're going to play out?
In Washington State or just in general?
Well, just those three specifically. So Jesse, and then the gubernatorial race, and then the race for the White House.
So let's start with the race for the White House. Donald Trump will be your next president. I think what they will probably try to do is the Dems will do a last-ditch effort to try to not certify him.
Which they've acknowledged publicly.
Which they have acknowledged publicly. And then they will basically go to town on legal challenges. They're going to challenge results everywhere they can challenge, and they're going to try to stop the peaceful transfer of power, which is something that they've been screaming about for 4 years. But there's a very strong possibility that they could try to assassinate him again. They've tried twice. That's a fact. You can't argue with me about that. It's a fact. They've tried to kill him twice. And the deep state will probably try to get him again. This time, I believe, though, with Vance, if Vance is the guy, Vance is very smart. He's smarter than your average bear, and I don't think that would turn out as well as they might think it might.
He surprised me in the VP debate.
He's a savage mentally.
I hadn't heard him talk a lot.
He was
but
good.
I kind of expect him to be a mouth-breathing knuckle dragger.
No.
And he spoke. He was really well positioned, well informed, well spoke. I don't agree with everything he said, but he wasn't what I was expecting.
That was the debate I wanted to see out of Harris and Trump.
Well, that'll never happen.
Well, but I mean, it was articulate. It was intelligent. I mean, you didn't have to agree with anything, but it wasn't, a bunch of rote phrases that one person memorized and someone else forgetting his prep.
Okay, what about the gubernatorial race, Chris?
So I think Bob Ferguson will probably be your next governor.
I would think so, unfortunately, but yeah.
Not the outcome I want. I'm just telling you the outcome I think that you're going to get.
Sure.
This will be the second consecutive gubernatorial race that the WSRP has not done anything to raise money for their candidate. The last time they didn't like Lauren, so they didn't raise money for him. This time they have a train wreck at the top and they can't raise money. I don't know what he does with his time, but raising money isn't necessarily on his priority list. Dave would be somebody you want to raise money for. The governor's race is something you want to raise money for. It's something that your donors who don't like you, and the donors do not like Jim, to be clear, they don't like him because of how he handled Semi. If he came to them and said, listen, we need to raise money for Dave, blah, 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 I think they could get behind that. Maybe. I'm guessing. I could be wrong on that. Okay. But again, WSRP hasn't done anything for Dave.
What on this whole topic right now, do you think Washington ends up with a supermajority?
You mean the Dems?
Yeah.
I hope not.
It's
going to hinge on Jesse's race.
Okay.
I think there's a very real possibility that they could go 0-12 on your statewide races. There are a couple races that possibly, right, on a best case scenario, you're talking about 4-8, right? So if you win the governorship, you're not going to win the lieutenant governor race. You're not going to win the secretary of state race. Pete might win the attorney general race, but there again, he hasn't raised the money to do the things he needs to do. But it's possible, right? Jamie Herrera Butler could win the lands commission race. But there again, it's a tough uphill climb. If you go 1-11, I would say that Jamie's race would be the one that could get picked off. Dave Olson is, could he beat Chris Reichdahl? I don't know, maybe. But there again, he hasn't raised the money to do what he needs to do in this statewide race. I think Dave is 100% better than Chris Reichdahl, my most humble opinion. But there again, it comes back to money, right? So the candidates aren't raising the money. People can pick on Lauren, and Lauren's been the butt of everybody's joke. And people talk about me, but you know what Lauren did? What, frankly, I did 4 years ago? $3.3 million we raised for Lauren. Okay. Not enough money to win.
Right.
3.3 million. You know how much help we got from the party?
Oh, that was zero, right?
It was zero. Dave McMullen in Pierce County. And I believe there was one other chairman up in either Snohomish or Skagit that helped out. Other than that.
Hold on. One more segment, Chris Gergen. We're going to stick around one more break. We're back after this. It's Outlaw Radio. All right, we're on Facebook only, Chris. Do you want to swear or get any profanity out of the way now? Or are you feeling like you need to?
No, man. I'm giving up swearing for Christmas and
for Lent?
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding.
Hey, the third trifecta in that, you said earlier you think Jesse's going to win. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think Jesse's going to win. Jesse's a winner, first of all. And we're doing the things on the ground that it takes. We're making the calls. We're, knocking the doors. We're sending the mail. We're doing these different things. And it's Jesse traditionally has done very well The reason that Jesse didn't win the Senate race was because he started wrong. The consultant before I started working with Jesse, started him in the wrong direction, and they focused on the wrong things. And so he underperformed in the primary. And even with underperforming, earlier I alluded to a standard of deviation that every district has.
Mhm.
Well, Jesse doubled that standard of deviation in that Senate race, but still came up short. It was just too far. He underperformed so much in the primary because they just didn't do the right things. And so Jesse's more hands-on with his race, and which I welcome because he's smart. Jesse's typically the smartest guy in any room he walks into, but he's humble enough to listen, and he does take counsel, and he usually makes good decisions.
All right, we're coming back from break. So Chris, stay right there. One more segment with Chris Gergen, Dark Horse Political. Back after this. It's Outlaw Radio Network.com. Stop it, jerk.
Is there really a .com on there?
I'm Brandy Cruz, host of the Undivided Podcast, and you're listening to Outlaw Radio. Good luck.
Chris Gergen, if you had gone to outlawradionetwork.com, you could have picked up some Outlaw Radio Network swag, maybe a t-shirt, sweatshirt, the boxer shorts. You could have gotten we got yoga pants for the ladies. Yeah, we got everything on that. Go to
I like yoga pants.
Do
you got yoga pants for the guys?
No, Chris,
Sure.
Chris, don't
We
try
call
the
them
yoga
sweatpants.
Yeah, don't try the yoga pants on. I did, and there is not space where you need space.
Fair enough.
There's
Paul?
way too much information shared if you're a guy and you're wearing the yoga pants. We'll just put it that way.
If you're a single man, it's called advertising.
No, it's uncomfortable.
It's just called advertising.
Dude, that is like par for the course of why you're single, dude.
It's one of many reasons.
I was going to wear them
Trust me,
to
there's
a
many
Relay
reasons.
for Life just for funsies, but I didn't last like 10 seconds in them because
that whole extra octave.
John asked in chat. John asked in chat about getting Brandy back on before the election. We are endeavoring to do so. Her people, Tom, are working with her people, to make that
You guys
happen.
sounding all important. Well, our
Yeah.
people are talking to her people, and
That's
Well,
right.
here's the deal, though. We don't do the people to people thing. We'll just go right to Brandy. We don't need to work through surrogates. We're a
Right.
big deal. We got our candidate more percentage
Clearly.
of the election than Semi Bird did. We're a big deal.
clearly.
Let me ask you this, Chris. And this is just kind of a personal question for me because I've kind of become a bit of a poll geek over the last couple of years.
He is Polish, by the way.
who do you shut up? When you're looking at national polling data, who do you have more faith in when you look at the different organizations? I personally have found that I've really come to like Atlas. So I'm just kind of curious who you like to use.
So I like Rasmussen. First of all, there are virtually no published polls that are really good or spot on because there's always a finger on it. The reason I like typically, I mean, I think I put a post out on Facebook the other day about, you guys do realize that these polls are all like propaganda, right? So because it gives commentators something to talk about, right? It gives campaigns something to talk about.
The reason I was going to ask, I got a call at my house from a polling agency calling about Jesse and Jesse's race.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, somebody's doing one of these here, right? Well, here was the kicker, Chris. Get this. So first they asked how I felt about Jesse's comments about his former opponent, right? Asking about some comments about him being gay. The pollster was asking me how I felt about Jesse's comments about the homosexuality of his opponent. And then asked me, follow-up question, sit down for this one. What was my opinion on Michelle Caldier? Now, who in the world would have possibly put out a poll like that, right? So it was such a perfect example. My wife was looking at me going, those were two really odd questions to ask back to back. It was insane.
Yeah.
A company out of Texas. I followed up. I called them back. It was just nuts.
Yeah, it's so those are push polls, right? And so what they're going to do is the results of that poll are going to turn around and be used in some sort of attack, and they're going to use the results from that poll to be the evidence that something is true or not. And it's a total red herring, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, they want to say, well, this isn't my opinion. This is what the polls say.
That's
right. But it's all BS.
Yep.
But if you want the actual, like at the national level, I like Rasmussen at the presidential level because of how often they poll. They literally poll every single day. Right. And typically they play it pretty straight. Sometimes no, but most of the time, yes. I have a company that I use for my internal polls called Spry Strategies. They're out of Tennessee. Ryan Burrell is the guy that runs it. He's a good friend. He's a good man, and he runs clean polls because internally, like, I want to know the truth.
Yeah.
Right. And so I never run weighted polls. And you know, I let somebody else pay for that. And then what I can do is I can take their results, and then I can manipulate the messaging on it based on their own results.
Yeah.
And so I don't really look at polls, honestly. And what I do is I look at, it's kind of unscientific, but you look at how are people responding to your messaging on the ground. When you're talking to people that are not traditionally your voter, and you're talking to them, and you're talking to low propensity voters, how are they responding to that? How are they engaging with that messaging? And you know, you annotate that stuff. But that takes volunteers, that takes time, and not every campaign has the resources to be able to do that.
For sure.
Right. So
for sure.
Holly Ann wants to know what my pack is, and I don't have a pack.
Yeah.
I
heard you had a 6-pack, but okay, but no political.
I definitely don't have a 6-pack. I have a cake, so it's no. I could be dead 6 months and still not have a 6-pack. So
fair enough. Listen, back to the Republican Party really quick before we wrap this thing up. If you were named the state Republican chair tomorrow, what is the first thing you do to start fixing the issues within the party? How do you? Because it feels like they've dug in so deep in a hole. What's the first thing you do? And actually, would you take the job?
Oh, me as chairman? Oh, yeah. Hell no. First of all, no. But if I were to be hired as a consultant to help lead the charge, it would be a lot like, you know, when we buy a company that is, you know, not doing so hot and we're going to take it over, the first thing you do is fire the leadership. And so we would come in and we would clean house, and we would I would have everyone gone through to see, you know, not checking for loyalty and what are your beliefs, or, you know, what I want to know is, can you do your job, right? You got hired as an executive director for this, right? Or a regional director for this. How many doors did you hit? How many calls did you make? How many people did you recruit? How many low propensity voters did you turn out? Like, what are the metrics, right? That's how I would judge the people to keep and then the people to get rid of, right? So that would be the first thing, is to clear house. Number two, then I would get a plan, and I would cast a vision, and I would start messaging along that vision. And this is what we did with Lauren's race when we put it all together. Basically, we structured a statewide organization and a campaign organization. Now, I know WSRP has its own internal organization with delegates and different people in different spots, but they're not a campaign organization, and they're trying to double dip on those people and trying to make those people do campaign stuff. That's wrong. Those people are administrative people. What you need to do is put a grassroots organization together, and then divide that up into regions, right? And then empower people to make good decisions on the ground for you. And then messaging, I would focus on low propensity voters. I would focus on engaging low propensity voters and making them actually engage, because there's a lot of conservatives that just stay home, and we need to re-engage them. And the biggest thing the WSRP needs to do is to regain everyone's trust. And the current leadership that they have right now is just not able to do that. And he hasn't proven to be able to do that. And he's pinched on three sides, The grassroots don't like him because of how his semi turned out. The donor class doesn't like him because of the whole, train wreck. And then the people in this caucus, because, Jim tried to take control of the of ATROC and be the guy. And then he miscalculated. And so he's hemmed in there. So, I'm looking for a guy to run the WSRP that actually gives a crap about the WSRP and actually cares about we the people on the ground, actually cares about the voters, and is not just looking for a job. Because if you look at his ascent, he tried to take over the caucus. And I guarantee you, had he been able to take over the caucus, he never would have ran for WSRP, right? So this was more about Jim than it was about we the people. And I think that's why you're getting the results that you're getting, is because those are wrong motivations there. And so it's time to put somebody there that has the right motivations.
You brought something interesting up here when I asked you about the polling data and about how you don't put a lot of stock in them and stuff like that. And I guess I'm kind of moving here a little bit towards the national stage, because I think we've beat some of these stories at the state level here. The national media is reporting that polling data shows that there's effectively a dead heat between Trump and Harris right now, within that point and that margin of error one way or the other. What are your thoughts on that? How accurate do you think that is? Or do you think it's just a bunch of bloviating by people that got something to lose?
And these are the same people that said that Hillary Clinton was gonna, destroy Trump, blah, blah, blah. And so, these are the very same people. They need something to talk about. It's not fun to talk about Trump's going to win, Trump's going to win, Trump's going to win, right? They have, listen, there are people and companies that are paying marketing dollars into your channel. You need to toe the line and give the narrative and at least keep it interesting, right? This is an uninteresting race. He is beating her in places that he should not be beating her. There are states like Minnesota that are close. Now, Trump's not going to win Minnesota. No one's won Minnesota. Minnesota was the only state Reagan didn't win when he beat Mondale. Right. When he won every state in the union except for DC and Minnesota. So Minnesota hasn't voted Republican, I think, since 1972. Right. So Trump's not going to win there, but it's within the margin.
Yeah, it's like 4 points right now or something like that.
Yeah. And so, and her running mate is the governor of that state.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a gun guy who can't load his own shotgun. Right.
That should be a layup. And it's not. And so, Trump is closer to Harris in Washington state than people thought he would be. He's closer. Now, Trump's not going to win in Washington state. He's not going to win in Oregon. He's not going to win in California. But those are all races that he is overperforming. And when you're overperforming in those places, you're going to destroy some people in swing states. Here in Nevada, my wife is on the Trump team here in Nevada, paid staffer. She's the strategic initiatives director, and she's turning out Latino voters and working with folks on the ground.
How are the Latino voters looking down there? I mean, you're down south too, man.
Yeah, they love Trump. And Cubans in particular love Trump. Mexicans love Trump. They just do. Now, obviously, some Mexicans don't, right? I'm not saying all Mexicans love Trump, but Latino voters they have conservative values. Most of them do.
Yeah.
And they're starting to wake up to the fact that Democrat doesn't necessarily mean democracy.
Right.
And so they're starting to become more engaged. Mike McDonald, we have a great chairman here in Nevada. Obviously, not everybody likes him, but I happen to like him, and I think he's done a great job. He's been around a while, and they've really turned the ship around here in Nevada. And Lombardo is our governor, and he is a Republican, not as conservative as I would like. I would say he's probably a little bit like Dave Reichert in some things, but you know what? He's not a Democrat.
That's right.
Chris, hold that thought for a second. We're going to wrap up with you on the Facebook side. For those of you on AM, say goodnight to Chris. We'll have him on again, I hope, soon. For those of you on Facebook, hold on there. We'll wrap up with Chris in a moment with you right here on Outlaw Radio.
Fuzzy.
All right, Outlaw Radio, back with Chris. Hey, Chris, will you make me a promise?
I don't. Depends on what it is.
Regardless of what happens in November.
Good answer.
Would you just continue to come on the show with us every once in a while? Just check
Of course.
in, give us your
I
insights.
would love to, man.
Are you going to be up here on election night?
No, I'll be here on election night because my wife's involved, and so as much as I want to be in Washington with my clients, I have to be. I don't have to. I want to be here with my wife. So
you want to be a good hubby.
No, you're a good husband. That's why you're married, and I'm not.
Damn straight. Another right answer,
yeah.
Kevin. Good job.
Would you have some time to join us? Do you think on election night?
Oh, of course, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you and I will talk. We'll touch base and figure out a time and stuff.
Yeah, that's
whatever
awesome.
works.
Kevin's going to do 12 straight hours of radio.
We're not going to do 12. We're probably going to do 7 though. Probably going to be on 4 to 11. I mean, 4 to 10 at least.
Well, I think you'll definitely have enough. You'll definitely have enough content.
Lots to talk about.
Yeah.
How? Let me. Can I ask you one last question, Kevin?
Yeah. And then I got a question for you too, Chris.
Yeah. What do you think the situation on the ground in North Carolina is, as far as, do you think they're going to be able to get it together enough so that those people are going to be able to vote? I know you're laughing because it's fun. It's true, aren't you?
They're going to be lucky to have the power on.
I think
in half the affected
it's a
area.
swing state, man. It's important.
It is, but they're going to be lucky to have power in half.
They got to figure something out.
It is, but there's so in the affected areas, like the really, really affected areas in the western side, there's not a big populace out there. So I'm going to say no. There's probably going to be disenfranchised voters, and they're going to have to try to figure that out. If the race is close in that, they might hold off on the results, but I don't think that's going to hold up the overall election, because if Trump wins Pennsylvania and Trump wins
That's true, and he's
Michigan or Wisconsin, and Trump picks up Arizona and Nevada, then he doesn't need North Carolina.
Right.
Well, but here that was going to be my question though too. If Trump takes North Carolina, this is over, right? I mean, really, North Carolina is kind of a big swing state for that presidential election, isn't it?
I think he'd have to get pinned.
Not really, because I mean, if he loses Pennsylvania and loses Wisconsin and loses, and some of these other, the Rust Belt states, or if he loses Arizona, then yeah, absolutely. Or if he loses Georgia, right? But there's so many different combinations here. Like he based on how his performances. I mean, there's 7 swing states, and he's winning in I think 6 of them. Right. So
you have 6. I had 5, but I'll take your 6.
Yeah.
Kind of depends on how many toilets overflow, and they have to shut down voting.
Hey, Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot really quick. On November 3rd, would you come on at 9:00 with us, even if just for a little bit? Because on that show, we're going to make all of our big picks. I bust out a spreadsheet. We make picks, and would you come on and join us for a little bit? We'll all make picks together and see who does what, and how badly we dominate Paul.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, buddy.
What'd I do to you, Chris? Holy cow, man.
Chris is Team K-Dog, man. Come on. Chris is Team K-Dog. Chris, man, we love you. We appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Keep fighting the good fight, and give our best to Jesse. And I'll reach out to you this week about confirming some stuff up with you.
I love it, guys. Thank you very
much.
much.
Chris Gergen, Dark Horse Political. He's a contributor. He's a advisor. He's a strategist. He's the janitor. Like he'll do everything for the campaign that's needed to be done.
That's right. I'll take out the
Thanks,
trash.
Amen. Take care.
Thanks, Chris.
Have a good one, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there goes Chris Gergen. Thanks, buddy. All right. So we're going to come back in a moment. We'll talk just a few moments about Dr. Jamie Miles and the interview that we had in the first hour. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but just some time in that. And then this is why I hate a 3-hour show with 2 guests, because we really were local. Although we did do some national stuff
on
with
Facebook.
Him,
Yeah, you fucking booked them.
No, I know.
Like you're gonna be like, I hate it when we have 2 guests.
I'm not saying I wouldn't have done that. I'm just saying that there's still so much national stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of time.
It's true. It's true. There's a ton right now.
We'll probably do football picks, Facebook only, right at 11, and bust through that quick, and then end the show, just so we can get that whole hour in of go over into some national stuff. And yeah. So Rick said, I heard an interview with the North Carolina election official, maybe Secretary of State, who said they are figuring it out. Current plan is use the same routes. Okay, hold on, Outlaw Radio.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's all right.
We believe the government controls the hurricanes and made it kill everybody.
And a bunch of a-holes.
What are you shaking your head at me for?
Because it's as we've been doing this show for all the years, you know, it's like I hate hearing from people how even the idea or the inference that they take the idea and the concept of HARP and that translates to them into this, the government can control the weather. And
that's why I said that in that bit, because then it says, what a bunch of a-holes.
Because it's just, listen, and if you've never studied it, you might think, what a bunch of crackpots. Unfortunately, however, HARP has been shown to be able to be used to control weather. On the flip side of that, on a very, very small, tiny scale.
Yeah, you're not controlling.
You're not
like a car.
No, listen to me. When I say control weather, I mean like they can dissipate a cloud that's like right over the top of it in Alaska.
Yeah.
Like you can't like control storms or weathers or any of the rest of that stuff.
Well, and they've been seeding clouds for years to make
they
them
have
run. Like
with
that
silver
is a true thing.
with silver nitrate. Very true.
Yeah.
And that's still not an exact science. I mean,
very inexact.
They did that in the UAE not too long ago and caused themselves some really bad flooding problems.
Yes. Yeah. But the conspiracy theories are based in the science loosely.
Sure.
Right.
That's what makes them so believable.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's an element of truth to every wackadoodle theory out there. Phil?
Speaking of wackadoodles, that's me. I'm just kidding. HARP is interesting because they it's like megawatts of energy, focused, phased arrays of antennas, intensely putting energy, and they can just get like little blips and then like a little aurora looking things. And then the sun comes along, is like, hold my beer.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Get a coronal mass ejection and you're like, wow, and I thought we were really cool and did something really great, you know?
We think we can control things, and then
Well, but I'll say this, so I don't think we're far off. I think in my lifetime, they will have some level of control over the weather. Maybe not 100%.
In our life?
In our lifetime, some level of control.
We already do.
No, I mean like significant level. Like not seeding clouds significant, but dissipating a hurricane before it hits a major
That's
major
100 years
city.
out.
One of my favorite ones is, we can cause earthquakes. No, we can't cause earthquakes. Folks, we don't have a satellite. We don't have a base in Antarctica that can cause an earthquake. And it just
Couldn't they set off a nuke? Would a nuke break up a hurricane?
I'm
not saying they should, but I'm saying, could a nuke break up a hurricane?
Man,
if you detonated
I think
a nuke
the cure
in the
might
eye
be
of a
worse
hurricane,
than
No, I agree. I'm not suggesting we do it. This is my curious brain. If we detonated the nuke in the eye of a hurricane, would that disrupt the hurricane?
I'll bet you it would have an impact.
I
To
think
what
it
degree?
would make it worse.
Maybe.
Potentially.
So who wants to be in on that experiment?
No, I'm not
Yeah,
suggesting
right.
we do it. I'm just thinking out loud, Phil.
Now, the irony, of course, is, remember, as we talk about the mainstream media, worst hurricane ever. I'm like, really? Like Milton was like number 73 when it did landfall.
Yeah, Milton when it hit was only a 4.
Only a 4.
Well, no, but I'm saying, I mean, there's been some,
been hit 2 weeks
there's
earlier.
been some that they said, well, maybe we should need to create a 6. This is so strong. So Milton
At
a
one
4 is
point, that was
significant.
Milton. At
Yeah.
one point, that's what they said about Milton.
But by the time it hit, I say only just in comparative terms, it was a 4. So it's not one of the.
It's not the category though. That's not the issue.
The speed has a lot to do with it.
It's several. Like for example, it hit at a high tide,
Mm-hmm.
so your storm surge was even higher. And plus that part of Central Florida had been hit just 10 days earlier. So by Helene. So I mean,
but are we preparing for the rising tides anyway? I mean, isn't that the thing we're told to worry about?
And
I mean, although the wealthy
tornadoes.
still build at the coast, but you know.
Well, and here was the other issue with Milton that I thought was unique was how slow it traveled itself. When that sucker hit Tampa or hit the area around Tampa, it was moving at 15 miles an hour. So not only was it a big ass hurricane, but it was a big ass hurricane that hung out for a while. So it wasn't like it was moving through promptly. It slowly chugged and just gave those big ass winds more time to do more damage. And that's something that has to be considered as well.
I think it had landfall a little further south of Tampa Bay, and
it did. Yeah,
there were some folks that were like on the ground there. You know, they did their preparations. They're fine.
All I know is I saw Anderson Cooper get hit by a flying object. That was great.
Yeah. Preparation is key, though, right?
Live on television, man. Whack.
Oh, did you guys see the Tampa Bay Rays baseball stadium down there?
Yeah.
So they set up 10,000 cots in there to house all the emergency workers that were coming.
Yeah, and then lost the roof.
The fabric roof ripped to shreds. Who didn't see that coming?
Why would they do a fabric anything in a hurricane-prone region?
They thought for sure it was strong enough to handle. Like when they installed it, they projected it would be able to withstand those winds, but they were wrong.
Maybe the fabric would have. It's it's going to be a fastener or something.
Well, maybe, but then
no
it just
pun
ripped it to
intended, but a
shreds.
cascading failure.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Dr. Jamie Miles was on in the first hour.
Mm-hmm.
Again, running for the 35th district against
23rd.
Greg Nance. Sorry, thank you. 23rd district against Greg Nance. I've said it before. She's running the North End, Democrat-laden district. The Blues have consistently held the seats up there for a while. So she obviously has her work cut out ahead of her. What did you guys think?
Somebody needs to work with her.
She's very, very intelligent.
Very.
But I think the average voter is going to have a hard time connecting with her.
I think that's a good way to put it. Again, somebody needs to work with her on speaking from a political standpoint.
Right.
When you're a doctor and you're standing up in front of a crowd and you're giving a presentation on high blood pressure, you're going to have one approach.
Right.
It needs to be very different when you're in a social and a cultural setting that is political. You have to be able to, like you said, you have to be able to get people to identify with you. They have to be able to accept you.
Well, in her instance, she's got to dumb it down some.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to put it. Yeah.
I think she's very, very well read.
Yeah.
But not everyone is. So trying to connect to the things that she is drawing conclusions off of it's
because her education and the way she has lived her life puts her in a position. She's always had to deal with people that are her peer.
Right
98% of the rest of us are not.
Right.
And even how she was talking a little bit about COVID and some of the things that went through, and she brought up, I have pictures of the fact that they built camps. Probably should have used a different word. Right. And probably should have had a different approach to that, because there was immediate pushback on that within the chat room. We've had those conversations over the years since COVID first hit. There's some truth to what she said, but it's not the way that it was presented per se.
Right.
So that's the kind of stuff, like somebody like Holly's going to latch onto that and go, oh, kook, conspiracy theorist, right? Look, I understood what she was trying to say and I understood what she was getting at. But like you said, got to find a way to dumb it down. That's media training. That's having people work with you about how to do these interviews and how to present yourself.
Yeah, don't
super smart lady, though. I think you're the one that maybe said it. Or that it said, well, no, you effectively said when you said just dumb it down. I think that.
Yeah, she could give probably a PhD level lecture, but not everyone can understand a PhD level lecture. I mean, she just needs to take it down to like 8th grade, which is what the average American reads.
There's a reason why a popular show is called "Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?" I mean, Kevin didn't get past the first round.
But
I hate you, and I hope you die in a fire.
No, but I mean, seriously, journalistic standards for writing are an 8th grade level, because that's what the average American can consume.
Right.
And you can get your point across at that level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess my only thing would be that, again, I smart as hell, like literally way smarter than me. Like, way smarter than me. But I think she's got to refine her message a little bit. With some of the questions we asked, some of the questions I asked specifically in the U.S. too, Paul, honestly, were questions that she really had an opportunity to drill down to specific, finite, like legislative priorities. And she spoke in a lot of kind of overview terms, which I thought were fine, but she never really kind of narrowed it down into specific bills, specific action, things like that. So, again, would she do a good job? Probably, yeah. But in that district, you've got to be a little more purple and a little easier to connect with, because she's going to have to win people over from
a very hostile area,
and a very set political party up there. So,
but the values that she was speaking to, family and child safety, etc. I mean, everyone is going to agree on that. If you don't agree on,
she actually has a good platform,
right?
I agree.
Yeah. So I think it'll be easy for people to relate to her. It's just the hard part's going to be understanding what she has to say, and that R next to her name.
Well, the R is certainly going to work against her up there in the 23rd.
Yeah, fair enough. Lori, did you have any thoughts you wanted to add in, or Phil?
I found her, fascinating to listen through, and her little clever wits I enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, listen, and she said she wasn't funny. I thought she had really good dry wit. I thought she was funny when she wanted to be. I thought.
Did she touch on mentioning something about being maybe a little on the spectrum? I think
she did. Yeah.
And it's like, I could see how some of that. I mean, I'm reading her website. Her not bio, but you know what I mean. Her her training. Part of it was like like she said, as an engineer at Rockwell, and then later, like talks about her being a flight surgeon, training at a clinical facility. Or training people at a clinical facility. She was a training of residents. I mean, lady's got quite a resume there. Now, does that make you a good politician? Well, maybe that's what makes you a good politician, is you're not one.
Yeah, I don't know. As I said at the beginning of the interview, she's smart. Like, I don't know why. I understand why she said, right? She feels called to do it. It's not really something she wants to do, but she feels called to help where it needs it, and to lend her skills in an area where it's needed. But boy, the smart people in general are avoiding politics for a reason.
And that's unfortunate. We need more smart people to be in politics.
But in general, the smart people are like, get me the hell out of there.
Well, yeah, it's because they're smart.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying she's not smart. She is very smart. She's just going to be one of the exceptions of people that are really smart, really intelligent, to put themselves in the wood chipper of politics.
And I think we all know what happens when you put somebody in to run for office who's incredibly stupid. You get a whole lot of word salad for every interview.
Yeah, and then they win.
Yeah, Michelle Caldier. Okay.
Not where I was going with that guy.
I know it wasn't, but it's where I'm going with that. You said you've been studying the polls.
Yeah.
And by the polls, you don't mean like your ancestors. You mean like political polls. Can you share a
jackass kind of thing to say?
You're Polish.
Jesus Christ.
Just Polish.
Polish, yeah. Can you share some of what you've learned by looking at the polls, Paul?
Absolutely, I could.
How about will you?
I don't know why I try to have an intelligent
The look on Kevin's face was priceless. Well, like I brought up to Chris while we were talking, I was curious about what kind of polling data that he liked to read and liked to go off of. What I did was I went looking back over since 2016 to find out what polling group was the most accurate, who had the best batting average. And it pretty quickly became apparent. The most accurate pollsters, and he said he liked Rasmussen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rasmussen is really good. They're at plus 2.8. So basically they have a 2.8% margin of error. But the one that I follow, and I started following them because of this data, they have a plus 2.2, and they're the top of all the polling companies. That's Atlas Intel. And now some of these you hear regularly, and they are off a lot. And I mean a lot. And then you also have statistical bias that's included in all the polls. Atlas only has a +1. The only one less than that is Insider Advantage. And he said he liked Rasmussen. Rasmussen, they carry a 1.0 as well. But some of them are as high as 7 and 8. And that's a lot of bias within and these are polls that are actively quoted by mainstream media on a regular basis. RMG Research, they're plus 6.0 and they have a 6.0 statistical bias as well. So there, like I said, once you start looking into the information, as Chris was talking about, you start finding, holy cow, no wonder these polls aren't accurate, because people are being paid lots of money to take these polls, but they're being paid by the same, Democrat Party says, well, I'm going to keep paying this organization because I keep getting poll numbers I like, right? So then they get to keep putting them out.
What's that echo chamber thing?
And it's a big deal in politics, right? It's a really big deal. So let's look at 2024 U.S. presidential voting information. North Carolina, okay, one of the states that we're talking about, right? It's a big swing state right now, right? Polling information in North Carolina, plus or minus 2.4%. Okay, right now Kamala Harris is polling at 50.5%. Trump is polling at 48.1%. So with a 2.4%, that becomes within the margin of error.
Yep.
Georgia, 49% Kamala Harris, 49.6% Donald Trump. No statistical tie, effectively. Arizona, 48.6% to Kamala Harris, 49.8% for Donald Trump. Nevada, 50.5%. It's up. They're up 2.8%. Donald Trump, 47.7%. Wisconsin, 48.2%. Donald Trump, 49.7%. Michigan. Now, this is why I didn't say anything while Chris was talking about it, but we're talking about, we're not going to give Minnesota here because, like he said, it's like really hard for a Republican there. So most people aren't even paying attention to that. But so we've got Wisconsin and Michigan. So again, Wisconsin is 48.2% for Kamala Harris. Michigan is 47.2% for Kamala Harris. Donald Trump in Wisconsin, 49.7%, and in Michigan, 50.6%. Pennsylvania, 48.1%. Donald Trump, 51%. He's up by 2.9% in Pennsylvania. So that means that of those, 2, 4, 6, out of those 7 swing states, Kamala Harris has a 2.4% lead in North Carolina and a 2.8% lead in Nevada. Donald Trump leads every other swing state. 0.6% in Georgia, 1.2% in Arizona, 1.5% in Wisconsin, 3.4% in Michigan, and 2.9% in Pennsylvania.
And there aren't any polls at all that show us getting out of this two-party system, are there?
No, and nobody would take that poll.
No.
Yeah.
And on top of that, here's what these numbers tell me, Paul, is that, not a surprise, but it just reinforces we are not going to get a decisive winner in November either way. Like, we're not going to look at this election in November and go, Kamala Harris was far and away the decision of this country, or Donald Trump.
If polling data stood true today, and it went right along according to that data, you would have a nearly landsliding electoral college victory for Donald Trump, and he would win the popular vote by approximately 3.5%.
Yeah.
So not only would he win the popular vote, but he would win the electoral vote. Now, there is the potential there, and I want you to let this sink in from what I was reading, and this is a point that was made very, very like in your face by Atlas, because there's always the margin of error in the polls, and you could have a 1 or 2% swing one way or another, and that's all it would take in the right districts at the right time during this race. Donald Trump could still, they do fully expect at this point in time for him to win the popular vote. which he then could lose the Electoral College.
Yep.
Which, remember, was the Democrats. That's been their biggest complaint for the last 8 years. We got to get rid of the Electoral College. We got to get rid of the Electoral College. No, we cannot get rid of the Electoral College.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue. If Donald Trump wins the popular vote and loses the Electoral College, so be it.
Right.
We cannot get rid of the Electoral College.
Wouldn't that be the worst scenario, though, to have anybody win the Electoral College?
Well, it sucks.
Lose? But I mean, as far as the division in the country and the current political climate and all of that, I mean, wouldn't that be the worst case scenario? I mean, regardless of who you want to win or lose,
I think you're making a perfectly fair point. The worst case scenario is what we're going to face no matter what, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is one side, and if it's Trump that wins, I think none of us have any illusions about the degree with which the left will go. Jamie Raskin has very openly stated they will not certify a Trump election victory.
And Jamie Raskin is
he's senior member of the Democratic Party out of New York. Yeah, Mr. Durag, yeah. And many other Democrats have stated that they're right on board with that. We could end up with a constitutional crisis because Democrats, the party of democracy, who didn't elect their person then loses, so they refuse to certify the election. By the way, Republicans certified the election on January 6th. And can I point out that when Donald Trump won, many, many, many Democrats went in front of Congress and they went in front of Joe Biden, who, by the way, gavelled them down when they got in front of Congress and stated their objection to his victory. They were refusing to basically give him his election, right? This time, they would just do it a different way. And the other way that they're talking about doing it is effectively what Trump was being prosecuted for, which was an alternate slate of electors being placed down in Georgia. These are things that happen all the time. And if you haven't heard, by the way, the Superior Court, I might be getting this wrong. I think if your cousin is listening, she might be able to state the correct information. But the appeals court in New York, do you guys hear what happened in the appeals court with Donald Trump in New York? I'll talk about it when we come back.
Okay. Hold that thought. It's Outlaw Radio. We're coming back around the corner.
And if your name is Holly, do not have a coronary. You better stay put and listen for this.
Mega Talk Radio Network.
.com.
All right, Outlaw Radio, back on the Facebook side. You know what I've noticed is that my power bill is just going up extremely quickly. And I'm actually using less power than I've ever used. And yet my bill is higher. Wonder whose fault that would be. No idea.
So you're saying less kilowatt hours, more money?
Less kilowatt hours, more money, yeah. I love it when I see things like Bob Ferguson's commercials where he talks about Bob Ferguson I got a mailer from him in the mail on Saturday that Bob Ferguson is going to fix the ferry system. And I've seen commercial where Bob Ferguson is going to fix the police issue. And I'm thinking, dude has been the attorney general and part of the ruling party for a long time. Why is he waiting to fix it until now? Same thing with Kamala. Although Kamala, I think has a little bit of a bigger room to make those claims because she's only the vice president. She doesn't suggest
I actually agree with you on
legislation.
that. It kind of cracks me up when I hear people make that argument. How's Kamala going to fix the things now? I'm like, because she's freaking vice president, dumbass.
Yeah, she didn't really have any room to do
she
it
doesn't
now.
get to do anything except be at a tie-breaking vote in the bill that created the most inflation in human history.
But I do agree with the people who say things like, hey, she's part of the ruling class. She is part of the current administration that has seen inflation go through the roof and prices go up and all of that, right? So I don't know. I don't know how she'd be any different than Biden. I just don't know.
Well, she wouldn't be. She was asked very directly, what would she do different?
All right, hold on. Outlaw Radio.
The answer was nothing.
Randy Cruz, host of the Undivided Podcast, and you're listening to Outlaw Radio. Good luck.
Outlaw Radio. Take a shot. Okay.
We have to talk.
So, Paul, do you still believe today?
Yes.
That Trump wins in November? Now, do you want, because I know what you want, but do you believe he wins?
Oh, do you? You know what I want? You want to know what I want?
Yeah.
I think that this country has a real problem with woke leftists having gone way too goddamn far. It's affected far too much in this country that the country has lost sense of itself. People are too afraid to argue and stick up for themselves because they're afraid of jackwagons, the Hollies of the world, trying to either embarrass them or make them feel less than or whatever. Yes, Holly, you're a bully. You're nothing more, nothing less. So too many people like her believe that they have too much impact and can make people do too many things, like ask a stupid question on a radio show, right? Yeah, I'm talking about the question you wanted to ask earlier because you didn't want to catch crap from her. Point is, I think Kamala Harris needs to win this election so crap can get really bad.
It already
so
is.
that people, it's not bad enough.
It's bad
and it
enough.
needs to get worse.
If Harris wins the presidency and we get Sideshow Bob as governor,
it'll get bad.
My business is done.
Okay, well, I don't want that for you. Just like I don't want it. I don't want it for me either. But you said you know what I want. No, what I want is for the country, for things to get that bad so that we wake up and don't go through this crap again. Talking about, there's a girl that's missing in Kitsap County from Gig Harbor area. She's been missing for like a week on Key Peninsula, 15-year-old girl. And people said that they've been seeing her around. 90% of the people that are on that Facebook, that on the thread that it's on, you know what they all think? They think that the state took her to help her transition. Do you know how goddamn scary that is, that people think the state took a freaking child? And people like Holly think this is a good thing. No, you're a moron. You're an absolute moron. If you're not childless, you should be. Please do not procreate again. You're too stupid. Kevin, that's why I think that things need to get worse before they get better.
Okay.
But I hope Donald Trump wins.
Right.
I do.
Let me go back to the question that I asked, though, is what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
If you were picking the election right now, based on the research you've done, the polling you've looked at, all of that, who do you think wins? Or is it really too close to call?
Well, I will tell you that the polling data has shifted in the last 14 days. And I could show you how much
shifted in Trump's advantage or Harris's advantage?
Yes, in Trump's favor. There has been a significant change, 3 to 5 percentage points in areas. Let me pull that back.
We expected that, didn't we? I mean, because Harris got a bump from 1, her candidacy, and 2, from the Democrat convention, and those bumps are never permanent.
Right.
You always see a spike, and then they always level back out again, regardless of the party or the candidate.
Yeah. So anyway, Florida's bumped up. It's in Trump's corner now. It's gone from it's gone up 3.3 percentage points in Trump's favor, up to 49.9%, to a Harris is 46.6. Arizona is Harris at 47.3 at 48.6 for Trump. Georgia 47.9%, Harris 48.6% Trump. North Carolina 47.9%, Harris 48.1% Trump. I mean, like I said, everything is trending. Oh, these were all states where he was down right around 0.5% or so.
Yep.
And now he's leading by 1% to 2%.
And this ignores what you've always talked about, which is the silent Trump voter that doesn't come out in the polls, but comes out at the ballot box.
There is all of the polling firms report the silent Trump voter. And they said they've never seen it before in all the years they've been doing it. And basically, these are people that do not acknowledge or openly, like on, I guess this is a big trend on X, people post on there, I got called by such and such polling company and I lied and told them I was voting for Kamala Harris. Like, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know what the point of it is. Maybe they're lying about lying. Either way, they're a liar. Like, I don't get it, but they're doing it. But again, polls are it's just best guess. Yeah. Lori.
So I don't know if you guys caught this, but Obama talked.
Yeah, he did.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring that
Do
up.
we think that has hurt Harris even further? Because I've been seeing the YouTube shorts, the reels, the TikToks, and they're African American men.
Yeah, and they're rightfully pissed off.
Yeah, they are beyond pissed off, and they're like, "Well, didn't know who I was voting for, but now I do."
Here's
and it's
how
not a woman.
Here's how I judge stuff like that on the national level.
Okay.
Is what I see on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I don't. Again, I'm not African American. I don't live in a minority community. I don't.
Right.
So, what do I see on Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
What is kind of the ebb and flow on Twitter? And I don't see a lot of. I don't think I see very many posts on Twitter supporting what Obama said, but I see a whole bunch of posts from African Americans saying, "You don't get to pull the race card on me and tell me I'm supposed to vote a certain way because I'm black."
Yep.
Like
and that's what they've been hearing from Holly and her ilk for years.
Well, Marco Padilla, I hate to go back to this. Marco Padilla 6 years ago, whenever it was, talked about how much crap he got in Bremerton.
Yeah, because he was Latino.
Yeah, running for state representative as a nonpartisan candidate because he wasn't going to take a side. And he said he got a lot of crap from Democrats. Why aren't you running as a Democrat? Because you're Latino and that's what you should be running as. And that's out of Marco's mouth, not out of ours.
Yeah.
I think it's a really thin sword for Democrats to be wielding, right? On one hand, to say we are the party that has traditionally championed the rights of minorities, championed the causes of minorities. That's what they would claim, and I would agree in many instances, right? That's a fine line between that and because you're black, you better vote for Harris. Like that's a very thin.
Dude, in the way,
wire.
did you see the video? The way he did it was so incredibly condescending. It was all the years he's done good stuff. That was like, I was like, damn, dude, you are not who you were.
Well, and he is who he is because he danced this line about racial expectation throughout his time in the White House.
Somebody ought to remind him he's only half black.
So,
I'm half black. Did you know I'm half black? Bottom half. Go ahead, Tom.
Right now we're talking about polls and all that stuff, and all these things change polls, and it's today it's Trump, tomorrow it's Harris, the next day it's Trump. It's going to ebb and flow until we get to election day. Election day is going to hit, and whatever is going to be is going to be. What happens the next day?
Well, I think it depends who wins.
Do you?
Yeah, and let me tell you why.
I think it's going to be bad or bad.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Republicans in this country have shown, for whatever reason, that they will accept a loss, take it in the shorts, and complain, bitch, whine, moan, but they don't take to the streets. That's what we've seen.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
With that in 2020.
Well, there was one street.
Well, yes, right on. Now, again, this is not ignore what happened on January 6th. That's a whole different thing. But what did Republicans not do? They did not react spur of the moment on impulse and on emotion in the hours after the election. They stewed, they thought, and then they descended upon DC. Rightly or wrongly, right? I'm not advocating for or against January 6th, but they were deliberate in how they responded. What we have seen from fringe sides of the Democrat Party when things do not go their way is they respond emotionally and immediately.
Yeah, Los Angeles burns, Chicago burns.
So the day after,
Minneapolis burns.
I think we're more likely to see from past experience. The next day, I think we're more likely to see Democrats, if Trump wins, do something in protest that could lead to violence. in the months after, if Harris wins, I think you could see another descent on DC by conservatives and Republicans. I think you could see more well-organized protests.
I preface that what you're saying by saying that you will probably only see stuff like that if you have voting irregularities. If there aren't people saying they stopped voting here, and all of a sudden 8 hours later, the voting shifted by 11,000. I mean, if there aren't the voting irregularities, I would reckon that everything would be just fine.
You think everything's going to be, if everything goes A-okay, there's no flooded toilets, there's no questions about where that bag of ballots come from, none of that stuff.
I say this only because Trump voters will be looking for anything that remotely resembles a voting irregularity.
Well, I think watchdogs on both sides of the aisle are going to be paying close attention.
As they should be.
But
They should be.
absolutely.
Yep.
But I don't see any way into November without ugly social ramifications.
I'm sorry
we're
that you
so
feel that way,
divided.
but you know what? It you have every right to feel that way, and you feel that way with good reason.
Yeah,
I respectfully disagree, and I agree with Kevin, which pains me to say that I disagree with you and agree with Kevin. But I'm effectively a Republican, but I'll never join the party. And I'll never join the party for the reasons we were talking with Chris about tonight.
Sure.
I'll never join the party because certain people that are members of the party have decided that it's a cult of personalities.
Well, the parties are about their agendas, not about we the people.
Yeah,
and that's
so
why I have a problem with the two-party
but
system.
the Republicans and people with conservative values deal with things very differently in their lives. In a lot of ways, you are very much, you're conservative libertarian, in my opinion, but people that have that conservative mentality, we just deal with things differently. We try to be rational and think through things. As Kevin stated, we try to not allow our emotions to overtake us.
Yeah,
Some people do. They did on January 6th,
Sure.
So it's not like it can't happen. I just don't expect it to.
Yeah. Holly in chat is now picking and choosing what I've said.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Which is
Don't
fine.
care.
I'm just going to reiterate it again. I think the Democrats have shown a propensity to react immediately in protest and or
You
violence.
mean like wearing pink pussy hats and screaming at the top of their lungs?
No, I'm talking about,
no, that's exactly what they did.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when they actually go out to the street and burn things and set things on fire and loot.
Chicago,
St. Louis, Los Angeles, Portland. Okay,
Minneapolis,
but again, I'm not excusing. Republicans will respond as well, but at least listen. Don't bother reading history books here, Holly. The Republicans have shown that they'll be deliberate in the way in which they respond. And could I, as I said earlier,
the word you're looking for is mature?
Well, no, not mature. Deliberate. They will be deliberate and they will organize and respond in a way that they think is going to be the most deliberate in the response, which is why January 6th happened. January 6th happened on January 6th because Republicans that were pissed off about it had conversations. What are we really trying to do? We are trying to protest the election results.
This is Kevin Chambers' opinion, ladies and gentlemen. If you're working for the FBI and recording this, please understand this is Kevin and Kevin only's opinion.
No, hold on. But what do Republicans say? We don't agree with the results of the election.
Wasn't there. Didn't talk to anybody.
We don't agree with the results of the election. We're protesting the results of the election. Some of them went there with violence. Some of them went there just to protest. But they went to where the ballot, they went to the certification of the election. They were deliberate in their response.
Which, by the way, doesn't the Constitution state you have a right to redress of grievances?
Yes. No, I'm not saying they shouldn't. If that's not what I'm saying.
I know.
But I'm saying what Republicans did was they figured out what are we mad about? Where are we going to take our protest to? And they went there.
Yeah.
Democrats have shown us in the elections where they lose and they lash out. Mm-hmm. They don't do it deliberately. They go to the street, flip over some cars, light some dumpsters on fire, and see what happens. And they do it immediately. It's a very emotional, visceral, angry response.
Oh, it is. Listen, all you got to do is sit down and watch that documentary I told you all about a year ago, which was about the burning of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
About what happened during the George Floyd riots. It takes courage for a person on your side of the aisle, Kevin. I don't mean you. I just mean a person on your side of the aisle to watch that documentary because it is very clear. And I'm actually would expect a retrial of the police officers that are sitting in jail right now, because it is very clear from the body-worn cameras, which, by the way, was not allowed as evidence into the trials, that he swallowed the drugs because he starts talking about, he's like, if I'm here much longer, I'm going to start going off on this stuff. Right. And I'm just telling you, man, he had enough fentanyl in him to kill him, and it did. Now, that doesn't excuse a police officer with his knee on his back. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that it is very clear from the coroner's report. It's very clear from the police warm body cams, which, Kevin, you are a big proponent of.
Yep.
Why they didn't allow them into evidence is mind-boggling. Tim Walz, as the governor of that state, he told the cops to stand down. They lost an entire precinct. It got overrun and burned. He told the cops to leave.
Well, we saw that here too.
We did.
I mean, we Chop and Chaz. I mean,
we did.
We could talk to Brandy about that in
and,
detail.
And which is how I became a fanboy of hers. Watching her, I watched her live that night, and I was like, "Who is this reporter? This chick has some cojones." And God bless her for doing what she was doing. So anyway, long story short, I could sit and talk about that forever. But I listen. People that are. By the way, I will tell you, this is something I found very interesting. So you guys know who Anna Kasparian is?
Who?
Anna Kasparian off of the Young Turks.
Right.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
one of
yeah,
the founding members of the Young Turks with Cenk Uygur. I can never pronounce his name right, and I apologize, Cenk, if you ever hear me. She basically wrote a nice op-ed and put it out there for the world to see that she effectively has left the Democratic Party because she's sick and tired of, basically woke people like Holly. And you know what? God bless her for it. I mean, I actually, when I needed entertainment, I turned on 2016 election night coverage of the Young Turks because I would laugh my ass off every time I watched that. Like, that is some funny crap right there. Like, folks, if you're listening and you really need to laugh, turn on 2016 election night coverage of the Young Turks. Trust me, you'll cry. You'll be laughing so hard. But, she's always been very, like, I've almost always disagreed with her. But she's come to this self-realization, like she red-pilled herself because she got sick of how she got treated by people that were on her side of the aisle. And now Jillian Michaels, basically the same thing. She just interviewed Matt Walsh on his new documentary that came out, Am I Racist? And she's like, dude, I got to tell you, man. She's like, your documentary really made me think. And she's like, and you're right. Because she adopted a child from it was from Haiti. She adopted a Haitian child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and by her own people on the left, they started referring to her as a white savior because she adopted a child of color. And she's like, I just wanted to give a kid a chance because she's gay, And so she's like, so I don't even know who I'm with or what party. And that's how far the Hollies of the world have taken this crap. That's how far. People on your side are like, F you. You look at the conversations you think you're having in the chat. No, you're not. You're playing Jason Rants. You think you're a freaking whatever you pretend to be. You're not important to anybody.
You're not a Rants fan either?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, me neither.
I just look. We don't do gotcha stuff here, man. We try to have real and open and honest conversations.
Yeah, I don't like Rance's approach.
Well, what for, man? What are you solving? All you're doing is getting clickbait. He got himself a nice little gig on Fox News. Congratulations.
He's just greasy.
Greta Van Susteren was on Fox News. Yay.
Fair enough. Yeah, and again, I'm not going to get down to the rabbit hole with Holly about this.
No, there's no need to. That hole, you could probably, it's a wind tunnel, dude.
All right. Hey, did you
the older women get, the less elastic they get. What?
Okay. So Paul, did you hear that the U.S.
Some of them need real plumbing instead of a pap smear.
Did you hear that the Biden administration announced that they're going to send anti-missile system technology and supporting troops to Israel?
Not you, Lori.
Listen, if
she's desperate, I know she's talked about it. So
if she's feeling threatened by what you're talking about, if she's feeling called out, you might need to consider that,
what.
Well, that maybe you hit a personal nerve with her. I don't know.
Anyway, I don't even know what she said. I don't even.
So the U.S. is going to deploy.
You,
so listen, the U.S. is deploying anti-missile systems to Israel, which does not bug me. But they're going to be sending supporting troops into Israel, and that does bug me.
Why does that? First, why does that bug you?
I don't want our men and women deployed into Israel.
They're all around Israel.
Well, again, I don't want them deployed into Israel.
Why?
Because it's not.
We have a mutual defense treaty with Israel.
I get it. I'm not willing to have our men and women come back in body bags. Not in Israel. Not in this fight.
Why? You have a mutual defense treaty with them.
You
have an obligation.
We're giving them tons of weapons,
but
and
you
systems.
have a treaty. You have an obligation.
I don't care.
So now you want to break our treaties with our allies around the world?
What I am suggesting is there is nothing about this action in Israel that warrants U.S. troops. Israel is going to win this relatively easily because they have superior technical abilities because of all the toys we've given them. I do not want any U.S. troops dying on Israeli soil in this conflict, nor do I want them in Ukraine. So this isn't just an Israel thing. I do not want any U.S. troops deployed over there.
Gotcha.
I'm cool with giving them all the planes, trains, and automobiles we want to give them. It's totally
even
fine.
some John candy.
Yeah, even some John candy. Please send Luke Bryan there, unarmed, buck naked, out in the desert. That'd be fine.
Damn.
But I don't want any U.S. troops over there.
I don't think we need to send any more equipment either. Enough. We've got plenty to take care of here at home. We have hurricanes beating the hell out of the southeast. We've got a housing crisis. We have a fentanyl problem.
That has nothing to do with the stuff we're sending them now because we've already built it and we're not using it.
Money? No.
God, this is funny.
No, money is money.
Two different degrees.
But we're not sending them
how far
money.
shouldn't we go?
Yes, we are.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
well,
a Patriot missile system costs millions of dollars. Yes, we're sending them money.
But we've already built it. It's already been created. So we're just basically taking something out of a warehouse and sending it over to Israel.
But as soon as we send it, what do? We have to build a new one because we need one too.
Okay. And Boeing gets more money. Perfect.
Stop it.
Jobs.
Tax dollars.
Jobs.
Stop it.
Jobs.
Stop it.
Jobs.
No more taxes.
Jobs.
No more taxes.
Anyway, I don't have an issue with giving them.
Doesn't matter. Strike. Boeing. Strike.
Well, but the Boeing strike doesn't handle any of their defense stuff. It's about their airplanes, not their defense contracts.
Not always.
Right now.
Not always.
But right now.
And I think
you can say not always all you want to, Lori. It doesn't change the fact that right now it's about their airplane manufacturers, not about their national defense contracts.
But the people who usually rotate in and out for Black Ops projects at Boeing are the machinists.
Okay, well, that's okay. Yeah. We're okay right now. If we suddenly needed them to come back to work, that strike would magically evaporate itself.
Wasn't Boeing doing like a 10% cut too across the board?
I don't know.
Or is that why they're striking?
No, they're not striking because of a cut. They're striking because there's been. So most Boeing people don't even have pensions anymore. Like Boeing eradicated their pension plans.
Like they don't pay into a pension plan, or they don't provide a pension plan based on the future earnings of the company.
I don't believe that they have a pension plan at all anymore.
Because those are two different things.
Yeah, I don't believe they have a pension plan at all anymore.
So I totally understand where the two of you are coming from. So let me drop some truth on you.
Drop some truth.
We have spent $24.4 billion in Ukraine this year. $11.3 billion to Israel.
Hold on. Are you surprised by that number? Because I would think it's higher.
That's this year.
I know, but I'm just saying.
That's just this year, not last year.
I'm just saying I would feel like it'd be higher with missile systems and all that, but go ahead.
$1.95 billion to Ethiopia. $1.6 billion to Jordan, which is funny enough, right next to Israel. $1.4 billion to Egypt, who, by the way, is also right next to Israel. $1.1 billion to Afghanistan, plus $890 million worth of leftover military equipment 3 years ago, which, in case you're keeping track, is being sold on the black market around the world by the Taliban. $1.1 billion to Somalia, who's in the neighborhood, but not exactly a neighbor. $1 billion to Yemen, where the Houthis hang out and party all day, who, again, in the neighborhood, but not on the same block.
Is the blowfish there, too?
Yeah. $987 billion to the Congo, $896 million to Syria. Still can't figure that one out.
How the hell are we giving money to Syria?
That's like sending money to the husband of your ex-wife that had an affair on you with him.
Wait a minute. We took out a Syrian airbase because they were bad people. They're in bed with the Russians.
That was Donald Trump.
That was Trump. But I'm saying we, the United States.
Yeah.
We sent money. Is this year?
This is all this year.
What the?
And to top that off, $9,000 per illegal immigrant that has entered the United States. That is in cash, EBT cards, travel vouchers, hotel vouchers, and all the rest of that stuff. So approximately 9,000 per.
Let's give 9,000 per U.S. citizen in the Southeast right now.
Well, that's what I'm getting.
So the money to Syria was for humanitarian assistance, is what it says it was.
Which is a polite way of saying, please don't attack us. And I want to set the record straight, because there is a lot of BS going on with regards to FEMA down south. For example, Donald Trump tells people they're only getting $750. And that's what the left is going around saying. Donald Trump did say that, but that's all he said. He didn't say that was all they were getting.
That's just step one.
It is just step one. That is correct. However, there's those people, they get an initial $750 payment if they qualify. Do you know where the qualification comes from, you guys? Do you know how you know what you got to do to qualify for that $750? Do you know, Lori? Do you know? You want to say it out loud? No? You have to own a house. Because it's not free money. It is a loan. And you have to qualify with decent enough credit that you
$750.
And then you can get up to $42,300 per house to repair the house, and up to another $42,300 to replace your stuff that you lost during the storm. Now, I don't know a single person.
Are those loans or grants?
They're loans.
Okay.
What if the house is gone?
Yeah, then guess what? $42,000 ain't going to cover crap, is it?
No.
Now, do you see why people are upset?
I'm already there.
I know you are, but that's the point I'm making.
And people would say, well, you need to have insurance. Well, for the fine folks in Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee that live on the top of a hill, they never expected that the flood insurance would be something they would need to have, given their elevation and location. Lori, you're having a spaz attack, a convulsion. Just say what you got to say.
Pro tip for everybody: you do not talk about a flood in your house, around your house. You talk about water intrusion and water damage. That is
Those are
covered
really key
under
words.
your regular homeowner's insurance. Flood is not. It's a separate rider. And if you don't have flood insurance, you can't talk about it. And in Florida, they can't even buy it.
Yep.
So it's water intrusion, water damage, or hurricane winds destroyed your house, your building, whatever.
Such truth. That's such truth that you're speaking, Lori. And I am a big proponent of the fact that one of the most crooked industries in this entire country is absolutely, unequivocally, the insurance industry.
Do you know why?
Crooked mother man from top to bottom.
Because it's required.
Yeah.
If we deregulate all that,
I don't no, he's right about
if
it.
You deregulate
If
it
you
and
don't
you make the insurance company compete for your business, you get a fair deal.
And as soon as they made it
screw
mandatory,
a whole bunch of mandated.
Yes, that's as soon as they said everybody has to have it, every car owner, every homeowner, it jacked the price through the roof and allowed them to dictate the
Here's
terms.
a problem. Then I'll let Lori talk. I want more regulations.
Why do you never let the lady talk?
Because I want to respond to Tom. I want more.
You couldn't hold on for 2 seconds.
Go ahead, Lori.
Thank you. Go ahead,
What
Lori.
I was going to
fought
say
for you.
is that, thank you. Most national insurance companies are not just insurance companies. Their primary business is financial services. Let that seep in. Financial services. They don't care about insurance. They have actuarials to make sure that you don't get paid out.
God, that sounds like a whole show.
Financial services. They replaced banks. Basically, when banks got deregulated and insurance companies got deregulated.
All right.
You're welcome.
My response to Tom: you need more regulation in the sense that, in Lori's example, why does it make a difference if you say flood or water intrusion? It is the exact same thing.
Agreed.
And what we have not done is we have not put enough restrictions on the insurance companies to cover what needs to be covered. If we deregulate them, the people who have insurance will get effed even more, because the insurance companies will find more and more ways to get out of paying out when people need the insurance.
You know what happens then? People don't buy that insurance anymore. They buy insurance from companies that are trustworthy and they have a good reputation.
Yeah, but how many of them find out about it too late? How many of them find out after the hurricane has taken their house?
Right. That's about shopping around and doing your due diligence.
Hold on. Outlaw Radio AM. Good night. We'll see you Wednesday with Hanny Baxter, 26. Kids Up Kennedy Democrat chair. Facebook, stay there. Outlaw Radio. Okay, really quick. Comments in chat. So Rick said, Kevin, what about the troops in Yemen stopping the Houthis from attacking Red Sea shipping? What about them? I don't.
I think he's asking if you're okay with those troops being there.
Well, do we have troops in Yemen?
Yes.
Okay.
Are they our ships?
Well, they're all the ships.
No. Are they our ships
that are being protected? Yeah, ours and everybody else's.
I don't care about everyone else's.
Well, we need to care about everyone else's because a lot of those are coming to U.S. ports. So,
Then they better take care of their ships.
So, but they can't. Like
there's some great videos.
A Sri Lankan freighter ship. Sri Lanka doesn't even have a navy to send over to protect their ships that are flagged in Sri Lanka but are towing stuff from India. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
But they also don't have anything worth stealing, so the pirates aren't.
Well, no. But you're missing my point. A ship that is flagged for Sri Lanka could be picking up anything anywhere.
Sure.
They're just flagged to Sri Lanka.
Right.
So I don't have an issue with our troops being in Yemen, but I'm going to tell you right now, if our troops come under fire from the Houthis, then nobody better be bitching when our troops take the Houthis out.
Houthis.
And the rest of the blowfish.
Yep.
Okay. So whatever happens, I don't have an issue with that because you're protecting our own.
Every time you say their name, I think of Cuba Gooding Jr.
I don't want our troops in Israel and in Ukraine. I just don't. We got mired in a 20-year war in Afghanistan where we saw how many thousands of American service members sent back in caskets, how many billions of dollars of U.S. inventory left behind because Biden forgot in between run raisin ice cream and apple cinnamon oatmeal. And now we want to go into that all over again. The Israelis don't need us.
I agree with you.
The Israelis will hold their own like they've done in every single other conflict they've had since 1948.
Yeah.
They do not need our dead soldiers over there.
Except you're not taking into account what Iran will do when Israel counterattacks them for the 280 missiles that struck Israel a week ago. Or
how are they going to counterattack?
Well, how the hell would I know?
But what I'm saying is,
I can tell you that I would bet money that one of the things they will take out will be as much of Iran's nuclear program as humanly possible.
The Israelis?
I believe so.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then
too.
when that happens, it will escalate again.
And again, this is a moving target, right? So where I stand today, there is no way that I would advocate sending U.S. troops into Israel. Now, could
What
that
about the
change?
Navy?
Hold on. Well, first they wouldn't go in. I mean, they'd be in the
No, they
ocean.
wouldn't have to. We've proportionally responded to Israel or Iran before, right? The Navy's done a real good job.
Now,
of
I'll
that.
tell you this: if Iran used a nuke in Israel, then all bets are off.
There would be one nuke. Israel would be not existent.
Well, I don't think that Iran would use a full on nuke. I think that they
you're
would
right.
use a
I don't
scaled
think that
down.
they would
It's
either.
a backpack or a dirty bomb.
But the point still remains: they don't believe Israel has a right to exist, and Hamas and Hezbollah are both proxies, both of which are begging Iran to get into it. Iran knows they cannot go toe to toe
That's why they haven't.
with anybody, right? That's why Iran is feckless.
Mm-hmm.
Capital F, feckless. Look it up.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the epitome of all talk. I mean, you want to talk about a transvestite? That's the military of Iran. Their whole military is a transvestite.
They claim to be a military unit, but they're
Oh
not.
my God, they're
But,
really more like a Boy Scout.
All
troop.
I'm saying is, if they used a nuke in any capacity,
And Israel's the Catholic
full
priest.
nuke, dirty bomb, backpack, anything, then all bets are off, and we have to send troops in. That would be what would change my mind.
You do know we've had troops on the ground already, right?
I know, but I'm not supportive of
I mean,
it.
granted, they were in Gaza, building a dock.
Yeah. But again, I just, for me, that would be my linear line, right? Listen, Israel was able to defeat 7 different nations in the Middle East multiple times without U.S. soldiers going.
It's
in
like
there.
Arnold Schwarzenegger taking on
in Commando.
Like, yeah,
get in the chopper. But listen, they don't have 7 nations they're going up against now. They're going up against Iran.
How's that song go?
Lebanon, and Gaza Strip in the West Bank. Jordan's out. Saudi's out. Egypt is out. All of them were against Israel in every other major conflict that Israel's had. They'd be out of this one. Israel easily wins that war. unless Iran starts busting out nukes.
They don't have to just bust out nukes, though, brother. And
But I'm saying Iran can't beat them without nukes. That's all I'm saying. I don't believe
Iran would, if they decided to fight some sort of conventional land war, they would roll right across Iraq. There's nothing in Iraq to stop them. They would then roll through Jordan. They'd cut some deal with the king of Jordan. King Abd would be like, okay, we're not going to get involved in this, because he's been very clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan is like out of it. They are
Switzerland.
Neutral. Yep, leave us alone. Do not come through our territory. It's just Iran is going to get hit back, and when Iran gets hit back, they're going to have to keep playing this game. And they're domestically they're in bad shape, man.
Yeah.
They're in bad shape.
I believe, using your illustration, that Iran's military would never make it to Israel. Because I
don't believe they would either.
Yeah, because they would have to make it across Iraq and Jordan to get there. And the minute that happened, Israel would hit them in their tracks. I mean, Israel wouldn't wait.
Look, the king of Jordan, he's a badass little dude. You know, that guy got into a jet aircraft because he's a fighter pilot and flew sorties against ISIS. That's
Really?
a hell of a leader.
That's
Yeah.
a badass dude.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else politically we want to talk about really quick before we get into football picks and get out of here?
No, I don't think so. We're good.
I still believe to this day that Kamala wins the election.
Did you just call her Kamala?
Kamala.
Like camel?
Like Pamela with a K. Kamala.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
Don't feel bad, but we got
Kamala,
people yelling at us
Kamala,
like, you can't
Kamala,
pronounce your
I
name
don't
right.
know.
What's
I
wrong
don't
with
know.
you?
I
You
can't-
can't.
I can't figure it out. I don't. What is his name? Is it Donald? Douchebag? Asshole? What is it? What is
Orange
it?
man? Hair plug?
Yeah. Jackwagon. All right. Let's do football picks.
The
shall we?
human Cheeto. Yeah.
So here we go. Do we have football pick music there?
If not, we could just
Do we
play
have a
the
caller on
Brandy
hold?
Cruz intro.
Do we have a caller on hold? Yeah. Is it Trojo? Yeah. Why didn't you tell me he was on hold?
He did.
Oh, did he? I missed
he
it.
did.
Hello, Trojo.
What's up, man? Yeah, he told you. You just ignored just like always.
I'm
hey,
sorry.
How you doing, Billy?
I'm surprised you called in after what happened to your Cowboys today, man. That game was horrible.
Hey, I saw what happened to your Seahawks this past Thursday, so don't talk.
I'm just saying, man, I haven't seen somebody taking the ass like that since Rob Lowe. Let's just be honest.
Look, I said last week when I made my Dallas pick, what did I say? I was like, I know Dallas is going to get their ass kicked, but I'm a homer. I'm picking my Cowboys.
No, you're a fan.
There is no way with Dallas defense decimated and playing third stringers that is going to do anything. They can't stop the run as it is.
Look, Seattle understands that. Now shut the fuck up and pick your football team.
I'm a realist.
But hey,
But I'm
Trojo,
still-
it brings
Yeah.
to mind an interesting question for you and Paul to answer both really quick, just between the two
How
of
are
you.
you lumping me into this shit?
Well, because you're a Seahawk fan. He's a Cowboy fan.
Okay.
What team has a better record at the end of the year? Dallas or Seattle? Because right now, Seattle looks like they're in deep shit. I mean, they're so beat up by injuries on the defensive line. They're so beat up by injuries on the offensive line.
Our offensive line is awful.
Yeah, and even when they had everybody, they weren't great. Who do you guys think has the better record at the end of the year? The Cowboys or the Seahawks?
I'm going to look like the bigger man here, which I am, and say Dallas will have the better record. That way it forces.
You think so?
No, but I'm going to say it.
Oh. No, I think it'll be Seattle. I think we'll get our defense healthy and we'll we'll hold up the
We beat
last
three
half of
really bad teams when we have all of our players there in the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah.
Jojo, who do you think?
You know what? At this point in juncture, with the stretch that Dallas has got to go through the next 6 games, Dallas don't play a team with less than a losing record. Their next 6 games consist of look who they play their next 6 games. San Francisco, the Falcons. Who else? Now, honestly, if Dallas goes 500 over the next 6 games, I would be shocked. At this point, with the way that team is, I don't think Dallas wins 6 games.
Well, here's Dallas,
I don't
right?
think they win 6 games.
Here's Dallas, San Francisco, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Houston, Washington, New York in their next 6 games. The only game they're going to be favored in, I would bet, is going to be that New York game because New York is horse crap. Okay, here's Seattle's next 6 games. All right. So they've got Atlanta, Buffalo, the Rams, their bye, the Niners, the Cardinals, the Jets. I could see them being favored against the Cardinals and the Jets. So, yeah. I think the only reason why Dallas might have a better record at the end of the year is because I think that your division is weaker than the NFC West because you have the Giants and we don't. And we lost to the Giants. I think that's the only thing that works in your favor. Because you get 2 games against the hapless Giants. We had one, we lost it. All right, here we go. Here's your standings from last week, week number 6. Dennis is rolling. Dennis had 13 correct.
Whoa!
He only had 2 games wrong the entire week.
Damn.
Dennis had 13 correct. I had 12 correct. I only had 3 wrong. And then Trojo had 11 correct. Paul had 10. Lori and Tom each had 9. So our overall tally, Dennis has 63 right. I have 62. Paul has 60. Tom 54. Lori 58. Trojo 56. Okay. So that's where you stand as we go into week number 7. Paul, we'll start with you. This is the revenge game for who's the head coach of the Broncos? What's his name?
Oh, what's his name from
Louisiana.
From the Saints.
Sean Payton. There we go.
Sean Payton returns to New Orleans to coach the Broncos against the Saints. Paul?
I'm going to take Saints.
Are you? Yeah, me too. Denver looks so awful today. Oh, weird. Hold on, I gotta fix this. All right, Tom.
Saints.
Dennis will pick his later. Lori.
Saints.
And Trojo.
Yeah, Saints. That's an easy one.
Fair enough. All right. I'll pick next, Seattle at Atlanta. I'm a fan. I know Paul says I'm not because I don't pick them all the time.
You're not a real fan.
I don't live in
never
this,
ever give up on their team.
I don't live in this la land where just because I'm a team,
it's okay. You don't.
I'm going to call them out for what they are, which right now is not a good football team.
Look, that's okay to do, but
Atlanta.
A real fan would still pick the Seahawks.
Tom,
Hawks.
Lori,
Hawks.
Look at that fan.
Trojo.
Who the hell is the Hawks playing again?
At Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta.
Yeah, they're favored, by the way.
See,
Paul?
not a fan, and then me, a fan. Seahawks.
Okay. Tom, New England at Jacksonville.
Who the fans are of what?
These are 2 teams that are both. Look, this is probably your shit stain game of the week. I mean, Jacksonville. I don't know if you guys have heard this. The background talk out of Jacksonville is that there are players in the media talking about how they have given up on the coach. When that comes out of your locker room to the media,
yeah,
you're screwed.
The coach.
You're screwed. I'm going to tell you all right now. I'm picking New England to win that game, and I think New England's an awful team. Tom, who do you got? Jacksonville's favored, by the way.
Yeah. Give me Jacksonville. They're at home.
Yep. Lori?
Jacksonville.
Trojo?
Yeah, Jacksonville.
Paul?
New England.
Yeah. All right, Lori, Tennessee.
Oh, excuse me. Wait. We got back up. No.
Yeah.
I meant New England. New England.
I heard you say Jacksonville. You're pretty clear.
Yeah. Well, I'm switching that right here, right now.
Now you're playing ball for the other team, huh? I didn't see that coming.
No diddy.
So Tennessee is playing at Buffalo, Lori. Did you know that Tennessee's talking about changing the name of their football team again?
To what?
They want to call themselves the Tennessee Tampons because they don't. They're only good for 2 periods and they don't have a second string. Lori, who are you picking? Tennessee or Buffalo?
Buffalo.
All right. Trojo?
Yeah, Buffalo.
Paul?
Buffalo.
I got Buffalo. Tom?
Yeah. Give me the home team.
All right. Trojo. Cincinnati at Cleveland. And by the way, Cincinnati should have demolished the Giants tonight, barely beat them by 10, and that game was an ugly game.
Yeah, I saw the very tail end of that when I came in. I couldn't believe that Cleveland didn't crush them.
That game was so ugly, I wanted to wrap a flag around my head and watch it for old glory. Trojo.
It's not how that joke.
I know
goes,
it's
Kevin.
not, but I made it family friendly. Trojo, Cincinnati at Cleveland.
Jeez. I'm going with Cincinnati. And Cleveland, I think, is worse than Dallas.
Well,
That's saying
and
something.
how stupid does Cleveland look now that they had Joe Flacco, who was actually playing well last year, and let him go, and now he's in Indianapolis, leading Indianapolis to win games, and Cincinnati still has Deshaun Watson, who can't throw a football, but I bet you could rape the hell out of one.
No. Take it a step further. How do you think Cleveland feel right now, knowing that they have Baker Mayfield?
Oh, it's in Tampa,
and they got rid of him for
boy,
did
you see what he did today?
For Deshaun Watson.
You see what he did today? Baker did in that game, Tampa Bay and New Orleans today. 400 yards,
crazy.
5 touchdowns, or some shit. Jeez. All right, Paul, Cincinnati at Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Cleveland. All right.
Yep.
That's a bold pick,
Yeah,
man.
it's Cincinnati's at Cleveland, so I don't think they're that much better.
Tom?
I agree with Paul.
All right. And Lori.
Bengals.
All right. Trojo. Houston at Green Bay. This might be one of the best games of the week.
Didn't I just pick first?
Yeah, you get to pick first.
Well, okay. I thought I picked first the last time, but okay.
Not
You
scientific.
said Green Bay at who?
Houston at Green Bay.
Houston.
Paul?
Houston. Wait, Houston at Green Bay?
At Green Bay.
No, I'll take Green Bay.
All right, I got Green Bay as well. Tom?
Yeah, give it a pack.
And Lori?
Green Bay.
All right, Paul, you'll pick first.
Yay.
This might be the game of the week. Detroit 4-1 at Minnesota 5-0. Minnesota coming off the bye week.
Actually, I'm going to take – where are they playing?
At Minnesota.
That makes it tougher. But I'm going to go with Detroit because it's not that far from travel.
I'm going to go with Minnesota. Detroit lost their really good defensive lineman, dude, whatever his name is. He broke
Aiden Hutchinson.
He broke his fucking leg. And they said on the NFL Network tonight he's out for an indefinite period of time. That motherfucker's out for the season. He's not coming back. He broke his leg. Tom?
Or next year his career's over.
What's that, Tom?
Detroit.
Lori.
Vikings.
And Trojo.
And Detroit has still got a really good team even without him. They got enough to survive without him. They're going to be fine. So it's Detroit.
Fair enough. All right, next game, Philadelphia at the Giants. There's 3 things in this world that I will never do. All right? 3 things I will never do. One, I will never sleep with a girl with facial hair. 2, I will never marry a woman who cooks bacon in the oven. And 3, I will never pick this Giants team. They are awful. Give me Philly. Tom?
Yeah, Philly.
All right. Lori?
Philly.
Trojo?
I don't know, man. Division games, they can just go any direction. I mean, you just never know.
What Trojo's saying right now is he would sleep with a girl with facial hair.
Philly.
Fair enough. Paul?
Well, he's acknowledged plenty of times.
Never mind.
He's acknowledged plenty of times before he loves hair on the nipples. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Philly.
And hairy legs.
Who do you got? Paul?
No, I'll take Philadelphia. Don't knock Trojo short. If she rubs her legs together, sounds like a grasshopper. He's all in.
She got hairy legs. She got hairy legs.
Yeah. Tom, Miami is at Indianapolis.
Oh, Indy.
Indianapolis is favored, by the way. Lori?
Colts.
Trojo?
Yeah, let me go with the Colts.
Yeah.
God, man. Isn't it crazy what's happened with Miami?
I'm all about
one of the favorites going in.
Yeah, I'm all about Indianapolis too. I'm all about Joe Flacco because Miami still doesn't have a quarterback. Paul?
Who's playing?
Miami at Indy.
Indy.
All right, Tom.
Hi.
Oh, actually, did you just pick first?
I think I just picked
You
first.
did. Okay. Lori. Las Vegas at the LA Rams.
Las Vegas.
Another poop stain. Game
Oh,
of the
this
week.
game is horrible,
Wow,
man. This is bad.
I'm gonna go with the Raiders. I don't know why. Just Sam.
Trojo.
Let me flip a coin real quick. Hold on. It says the Rams. Sure, why not?
All right, Paul, Las Vegas with the Rams.
I'm going to go with the Rams.
There are 4 things I won't do in this life. I will not sleep with a woman with facial hair. I will not marry a woman who cooks bacon in the oven. I will not pick this year's Giants, and I will not pick this year's Raiders. Give me the Rams. Tom?
This one, give me the Rams.
I'm telling you guys, we need to be thankful that Kevin has decided this is a quick football pick.
Yeah. Trojo, Carolina at Washington.
Oh, God. Oh, wait. No, Washington actually got a good team all of a sudden. Yeah,
Jaden Daniels a stud.
Wait. What have I always said? I could never pick the Redskins, and I could
pick Jaden Daniels then, and the team that he's playing for.
I gotta break that tradition as of right here, right now, because Carolina is awful, and Chase Daniels is where the hell does he come from? He got Washington.
I thought it was Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, whatever the hell his name is, I don't care. He's a Redskin.
He's the
Trojo's like all those black quarterbacks look alike to me.
He's the second coming of Cam.
I'm going to choose. God dang. I'm going to call them the Commanders because I just can't call them the Redskins.
All right.
Commanders today.
All right. Commanders is their name.
Paul, who do you got?
Washington.
There's 5 things I won't do in this life. I will not sleep with a woman with facial hair. I will not marry a woman who cooks bacon in the oven. I won't pick this year's Giants. I won't pick this year's Raiders, and I won't pick this year's Carolina Panthers because they are awful. Give me the Redskins, Tom.
Redskins. You know I have to get up early, right?
Lori, we're almost done.
Redskins. I have to get up early too. And
Oh
take
my
a ferry.
fucking God! All right, here we go. Paul.
And I have to get up early too.
Kansas City at San Francisco. Paul, who do you have?
Kansas City. Because I want them to win.
There are 6 things. I'm just kidding. God, this is tough. I'm gonna pick San Francisco just because I think they're starting to figure it out, and Kansas City's got a lot of injuries. Tom?
Chiefs.
Lori?
Chiefs.
Trojo?
They're playing in San Francisco?
They're in San Fran.
All right. I'm going to pick San Fran just because they are at home. Because if they was in Kansas City, I would be picking Kansas City and Patty Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but San Fran.
All right. This is another shit-stain game of the week. Michelle Caldier's campaign has been busy sponsoring a lot of games. The New York Jets travel to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers on Sunday night. Tonight we had this shitty game, Cincinnati and the Giants, and next Sunday night it's the Jets in Pittsburgh. If you're making the schedules for the NFL, please hang yourself.
I think you need to be a little bit more honest about NFL this year. There's a lot of parity.
I got the
a
Jets.
lot of parity.
Pittsburgh's favored, but I got the Jets. Tom?
I hate saying this. Steelers.
Lori?
Steelers.
Trojo?
Give me the Steelers. Is Aaron Rodgers still hurt?
No, he's playing.
Okay.
He's playing. That's why I picked the Jets. They fired their coach. Paul?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a step or two down from Joe Montana. And I will tell you this. I don't think that without his coach, I don't think that team has what it takes. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh.
Do you think Russell Wilson plays for Pittsburgh this week? He's finally healthy.
No, he's been named the backup.
Okay. All right, Tom.
Hi.
Baltimore at Tampa Bay.
Baltimore.
It'd be a good game.
Yeah. Lori?
Buccaneers.
Oh, okay. Trojo?
It'd be a good game.
It's at Tampa.
Buccaneers and Tampa. Yeah, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Wow, okay. Paul?
Tampa.
All right, I got Baltimore. Lori. By the way, that was on Monday, and this is on Monday as two Monday night games again. The Chargers at Arizona. Again, another shit-stain game of the week.
Game.
Brought to you by Michelle Caldier.
Chargers.
This shit-stain game week.
Trojo? By the way, before you guys pick, this is important. Okay. Who's the coach for the Chargers again? What's his name?
Harbaugh.
Harbaugh was taken to the hospital today during their game.
Oh,
and I don't have an update. But he went to the tent, and then they sent him to the hospital. So I don't, or maybe not the hospital, but they sent him in the back in the locker room at least.
Oh,
I don't know what happened. So I don't know if that matters anybody's pick. Trojo?
Let me get let me go with they're in Arizona?
Yep.
Yeah, give me the Cardinals.
All right. Paul?
Chargers.
And I got Arizona. Tom?
Chargers.
All right. Double downs.
Hold on.
What?
Harbaugh abruptly leaves game with mystery illness returned by the end of the game.
Return? Okay. He probably was getting nauseous watching his team play because they're just bad.
Probably.
All right. Trojo, double down. Who do you got?
Oh, shoot. Whatever team that was playing Carolina Panthers.
So you got Washington. You're picking the Redskins as your double down? Not only are you picking Washington,
picking the Commanders.
But you're doubling down on them. All right. Paul?
Damn right.
Oh, for crying out loud, man. I'll double down on, how about
Seattle, true fan?
I'll take New Orleans.
All right. I'm going to pick, God bless it. I'm going to pick Indianapolis because Miami's just gross. Tom?
Philly.
And Lori?
Ravens.
All right. That concludes our picks. Phil, do you have any parting shots?
Oh, yeah. I've been working on this one for a while. So in light of, all of our politics, the people who really don't want to vote for Trump, just think what can be and just be unburdened by what has been.
So true. So true.
Oh, my God.
Lay it down.
I'm gonna Phil, I'm gonna kill you. All right. Trojo, do you have any parting shots?
Will I die in a fire?
Oh, I'm not even gonna reserve that for you. It's gonna be a slow, painful death by spoon.
Will there be bacon involved?
No, because that would be like heaven.
No, actually, you know what? Just pray for the human race because God bless us if either one of these guys win the presidency. Vote independent. That's all I got. Hey, y'all have a good one.
All right. Lori, parting shots?
23 days, people, till you get to vote. Please make sure you vote. Your vote counts. And if you're in Washington State, vote yes, pay less.
All right, fair enough. Tomas?
I'll have dates and stuff to talk about next time. So for right now, Chase Oliver for president.
Do you think he gets more than 5%?
I don't know. This election cycle started weird. And I mean, as soon as Biden dropped out, everything got really weird. So I don't know.
Okay.
I thought I had it figured out, but not anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Don't forget, guys, we will be doing our picks in 3 weeks for all the national election stuff for bragging rights. Paul, parting shots?
Yes. When we first started doing this show years ago, I spent a lot of time. I don't remember how much, but it was a lot of time doing bumps and intros. So we don't have to use Brandy Cruz 5 or 6 times during a show. That's all.
Talk to Dennis. Get it organized.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Would you kill the football music for a sec? I have something heartfelt that I want to say. I just want to know I love you guys all very much. And regardless of what happens on election night and how right I am and how wrong the rest of you are and how much resentment you harbor against me for being correct on everything, just know that I'll take all your negative words and angry rhetoric and resentment and frustration, and I will shoulder that cross because I love you guys that much.
Did you transition?
What are you talking about?
Well,
and to everyone else on staff,
well, no,
I have plenty of toilet paper for
Do you?
Kevin's house.
Okay, that's good because you sound a lot like Don Manning right now.
What are you talking about? No, the difference is that Don Manning was wrong on everything. That's why he stormed out of here in a huff.
You made that comparison. I didn't. I don't know what we're even having an election for. We all know how it's going to go. Pretty sure that was his exact words when he sat down.
No, I said, I know how it's going to go. We don't know how it's going to go, but I know how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I know in my heart of hearts.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if I'm wrong, I will shave all of Phil's hair.
How about if you're wrong, Phil shaves your hair?
Kamala,
all that
Harris
body hair
is going to win the White House. Reichert is going to lose the governor's office.
Better yet, how about if Lori shaves
and Jesse
all of
Young
your body hair?
Jesse Young's going to win.
No, don't volunteer.
You could do it blindfolded.
No, God, no.
All right. That'll conclude the show, guys. Don't listen. Hanny Baxter joins us at 7 o'clock. We'll talk about the state of the
She'll
Democratic
be a fun
Party
interview. You guys
in
will enjoy
Kitsap County. That'll be good. Paul won't be here. He'll be celebrating his anniversary with his wife. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, I mean, the first one went 17 years before my ex-wife decided she needed another man in her bed. Hopefully that won't happen again this time. I mean, things are going good.
He says, hopefully that won't happen this time.
That's so heartfelt, bud.
Well, while you go home and fail to please your wife, I'm going to go home and play Xbox. Good night, everybody. Outlaw Radio Network, a presentation.
It's really fucked up, dude.
Of us. Good night, Paul.
I never say anything about your wife
because I don't have one.
Jesus.
Forever single.
Get us out of here!